Welcome to the video. Gonna be going over all 150 plus platinum trophies on my profile. So we're just gonna jump right into it. The very first game I ever platinumed was the first Crash Bandicoot game. And honestly, this and Fortnite was the reason I even got my PS4 to begin with. And as you can see, 2018, so I was a little late to the party on PS4. Kind of went through college, didn't have time, and we just kind of came late to the PS4 party. But I started with the Crash Bandicoot series. I grew up kind of on Wrath of Cortex, so I really liked Crash, and the idea of 100% of these was pretty intriguing. And honestly, these three games I think are fantastic for people who like want to get into trophy hunting because they're like marginally difficult and they're still like pretty respectable, but they're not so hard where you're gonna want to just like jump out of a plane, right? So all of them, I'm not sure if each one got easier or I was getting more used to Crash games as I went through these three. But by the time I got to Crash 3, I kind of just sprinted through it and it became almost a joke. I think Crash 1 is probably the hardest. It's just so bare bones. You really jump and spin, and that's it. So you really just have to get used to the levels. And I remember like Native Fortress was a nightmare on that with how long it was. But pretty proud of those games. I think they would be ridiculously easy, kind of at this point if I went back to them. But people are starting to get into trophy hunting. I think these are fantastic to jump into. So the next couple, as you can see, they're all just Jack and Daxter games. I obviously loved going back to the PS2 games. And the first Jack and Daxter game is one of my all-time favorite games. It's like that typical PS2 collectathon game. And didn't I remember I didn't need like a trophy guide for or anything. Just kind of jumped in, just go through each level, get some of the collectibles. The story's fantastic. I really enjoyed my time with this one. So much so that this is going to be my J game in the Alphabet Platinum Challenge. They made like a PS5 version with a new trophy list, so I'm going to be doing that. But this is one of my all-time favorite games. It's just so like light-hearted, pretty funny, just some platforming that's not overly difficult, really good level design. I thoroughly enjoyed my time kind of going through this game. Jack 2, however, is one of my least favorite games ever. The story is honestly it's pretty good. I like the direction they went. Whereas like Jack and Daxter 1 was pretty lighthearted and funny. This is like more dark and serious. But my problem with this one was always the GTA style they went with. I know a lot of people are like, "What's wrong with GTA style?" I hate it. It's a pretty hot take, I know, but I just get bored of like stealing cars and like driving around. And they also introduced guns in this one. And if you guys could imagine like gunplay, like the early PS2 era, it was not good. There's like no way to aim. You kind of just like had your character face in a direction and hoped that the gun would hit them. And it was honestly like kind of difficult. Uh, like I know if you went on the harder difficulty, like it is a super difficult like game to even get through. But the platinum itself like wasn't bad, mostly because I remember there was this exploit. I forget what the collectible was called, but going through it, there were like hundreds, like almost like 300 of this one specific collectible, and you have to do like certain challenges for them, like racing or something like that. And some of them were really difficult, but there was an exploit where you could just kind of keep getting the same one over and over again. So that's what I did because I didn't feel like going through all of the nonsense. But still like a decently fun platinum, even if the game isn't fantastic. Honestly, the same kind of with Jack 3, Jack X Combat Racing. There's not much else to add on them. It's pretty similar gameplay like Jack 2 for Jack 3. Story's still really good. The end of the story for this was immaculate. I think they did an excellent job wrapping it all up. If you guys are into like racing games, combat racing, I remember took a little while to get used to, but overall wasn't an awful platinum. Like a lot of these Jack games are all pretty easy to platinum, I would say. much easier than the Crash games. Um, and it's got another PS2 game here. We got the Spyro trilogy. And I didn't really grow up on Spyro, so I didn't have the same nostalgia for these as I did for like Jak and Daxter and Crash and Ratchet and Clank once we get up to those. But they were like pretty fun. Again, similar with Crash, I think, they got easier uh, as I was going through them. Maybe just because I was getting used to the style of game, or maybe the games themselves just got easier. I'm not fully sure, but these games are all pretty easy to platinum. Even like early trophy hunting days, really didn't have much of a problem getting through these. I felt I went right through them like Spyro 1, Spyro 2, Spyro 3, and I kind of felt burnt out of Spyro games by the time I got to the third one, so I wouldn't really recommend doing that. I think Spyro 2 I remember being my favorite of the bunch. Spyro 1 had kind of janky jumping. When you're a flying dragon, the jumping being a little janky isn't great. But overall, they still really capture like that good like PS2 era style. Similar with like the Jak and Daxter, like the first game mostly, where it's a nice like collectathon going through each level and finding some certain collectibles. Pretty easy. I didn't really have much trouble with any of these. I can't think of a single part where I struggled or had any like standout periods. The story was kind of just like basic PS2 stuff, like something happens, you gotta go save the world from one bad guy. So not really special, but good enough to like kind of keep your attention. So this is where I started into like the co-op trophy hunting with one of my friends, Kaz. I'm gonna be mentioning him a lot throughout these because we did a lot of co-op games together. But the forest, and for those of you that don't know, the forest is like a more mature Minecraft where you're kind of just in a forest, big surprise, and you are trying to survive, trying to find your kid and get out of there. And you like chop stuff down, build your base, go through caves, etc., etc. And this platinum was like pretty fun. There were some pretty like glitchy, bugged trophies in this. I know some people like struggle a lot with getting them. Like there's one for I think it was blowing up like 10,000 trees or something like that, or cutting them down. But if you left the game, it didn't track it, so you had to do it all in one sitting. And there was like this one exploit you had to do with like dynamite. And there's one specific trophy in this that made this a nightmare, and it is to survive 100 days. Pretty sure that it was 100 days. And it's like consecutive days. So if you die in the game, the days reset. And if I remember correctly, one in-game day was like 20 minutes in like real life time. So it's like a pretty sizable amount of time you have to spend. And even after, if you just never die in the game, it's only going to be around like day 50 or so by the time you finish everything there is to do in the game. Like explore all the caves, explore the whole map, get everything you need, build your base, kind of all this stuff. So we had a lot of time to just kind of just kill. And we were playing this with one of our friends, and there's the three of us starting off. And I told a friend Mike to not kill us, and of course he did. And I had to blow up his little houseboat, and he wasn't able to recover it, so then he stopped playing. So it's just the two of us. But we had honestly like 50 days where we just had nothing to do, so we would just kind of sit in our base and like watch TV or do whatever else. And I remember, if anyone who's played this game knows, like those flying sausage monsters are one of the most terrifying things in any game ever. And I didn't know they existed. And I must have been like that day like 60, 65. And I think I was watching like Supernatural. And I looked up and saw like 50 of these flying sausage monsters coming at us. And after spending countless hours going through this one ran away from my life screaming. But that was a very annoying trophy in this game, and I don't miss going through that. Next, Marvel's Spider-Man. I feel like everyone has played this game that has a PlayStation, and for like good reason. This game was like fantastic. In terms of trophy hunting, this platinum It was really easy. Like, there's nothing in this game that's difficult. But it was such like a wholesome platinum to go through. Like, you don't really need a trophy guide. You could kind of just go through the game, enjoy it, and that's what I think makes it so special. With honestly how easy it is, and you also have Spider-Man, so it's just a beloved character. So this one was a fantastic platinum. I remember I really enjoyed doing this. Even going through all the DLC was fun. So really nothing bad to say about this game at all. But also, there's no challenging parts, no standout parts. At the end of the day, it's just a Spider-Man game that you kind of go through. Crash Team Racing. This game was super difficult, and I don't think a lot of people kind of talk about this that much because I don't think a lot of people end up playing it. But this is probably the hardest kart racer that's ever been made. But they did like a phenomenal job with it. And what makes this game so hard was the learning curve. And like once you got down how to properly drift, it became like decently easy. But the Oxide time trials where you have to beat Oxide on every map, like his time trial ghost, was horrible. So if you guys are into Crash at all or kart racers and don't have this platinum, highly recommend going for this. It is super challenging. It's probably like a 7 or 8 on PSN if I had to guess. It's not overly long, so you're not going to be into this for like hundreds of hours, but you're going to have to spend some time really getting to learn how to do the drifting. Again, I did this right alongside a couple of my friends, so it made it a little more bearable learning it, but there were a lot of frustrating parts, especially trying to keep like your blue flame through the tracks. That game caused me a lot of stress, but I'd still recommend it to be honest. It's like one of those challenging games where you beat it, you feel accomplished, you feel like you mastered the game, and that's honestly still how I feel. I can still kind of go back into it and do decent, even though it's been probably a few, like maybe like a year or two since I played the game. You're gonna see some games in here that there's only 100% no platinum. Being that I 100% every game, honestly, it doesn't really matter that much to me. Where if it doesn't have a platinum, I'll still go for it. But Apex was like a nice game. You could just kind of hop in with friends. I mean, at this point when Apex came out, I kind of was over the whole battle royale thing, but played it with a couple friends. There's nothing too hard. Like as you can see, what are there, 12 trophies? Some of them were like getting wins with certain characters, maybe reaching a rank or something. Really easy and pretty unremarkable. There's not like a whole lot to say about Apex. If you're playing with some buddies, it's gonna be a nice, like pretty easy 100% to go get. Now here we are with my favorite game series ever, Kingdom Hearts. I've played every Kingdom Hearts game and we'll get into all of them. But to start with Kingdom Hearts 1, this one was fantastic. Um, it felt a tiny bit dated, kind of by the time I got to it, which was, 2019. But this game was a lot. I think it's like 150 hours on PSN. If not, it's got like 100. I know it's in the triple digits. But what made this game so hard was there's a speed run for like 5 hours, which is like semi difficult. The game's pretty long. You have to be on like proud. So there's like a couple playthroughs. Even if you're skipping the cutscenes, it still takes a sizable amount of time to get through the campaign. And then there's all the like collectible synthesizing stuff. And something that I love in all of these games is there's always like optional secret bosses and there's always trophies tied to them. So for this one, there was Sephiroth, um, who anyone who knows about Kingdom Hearts, oh boy, he is something else, and it's super fun. Oh, oh, look at that! I was completely wrong on the speed run. It's 15 hours, which just shows how absolutely long this game is. That there's a trophy for 15 hours. Oh my god! But yeah, here's the other secret bosses right here. So you have the Phantom at the Clock Tower, Kurt, Ziza, and the Mysterious Man. And what made all of these so much fun is they all just have like different gimmicks, and the fights are just completely different to like the normal gameplay. So going through this, I played the Kingdom Hearts games as a kid, came back and absolutely loved this platinum. I know it's long, but I dedicated to get every single Kingdom Hearts platinum. And this was the first step, and I had a lot of fun with this one. I really enjoyed that. Call of Duty Black Ops 4. I have very, very few positive things to say about this platinum. I have gotten this 100% two times, which is a long story why I had to do it a second time, but oh god. So I love zombies. I started playing zombies back in World at War, like back when you had to beat the campaign to unlock zombies, and I've played all the way up through Black Ops 4, so I'm obsessed with zombies. And that's kind of why we started playing this game. Again, played this one with Kaz, and what made this one so bad wasn't the multiplayer trophies, which was just getting like some wins, prestiging ones. It wasn't the zombies, like doing all the miscellaneous trophies, all the Easter eggs. What made this so bad was Blackout. For those of you that don't know, Blackout was Call of Duty's first attempt at kind of jumping into the Battle Royale scene, and they did such a piss poor job. It was just such a miserable experience. And I don't know if it was because they did a bad job designing it or if Call of Duty players just ruined it. But I think like the best way to symbolize how awful this was I was playing like squads or quads or whatever they called it, where it was a four man, and we were like miles outside of the circle with the storm closing in. So we were all just sprinting in, and I decided to make a quick stop in a one by one house, and I opened up the bathroom, and there was a guy sitting in there by himself, well outside the circle with a shotgun, just pumped me in the face, died. And that's just like the embodiment of, I think, Call of Duty players at this point. But and what made the trophy so bad in Blackout was there's all these characters that you had to get, and a lot of them were you had to find a drop. So a lot of the drops were kind of RNG. So you have to find this RNG drop. Then you have to do just ridiculous things to kind of check off these little boxes to get the character. Like one of them was you get this RNG drop, then you have to kill someone at like 500 meters away or something outrageous where you could barely see them, and then also come in like top two or top three. And there were so many of these. Like if we go into this, oh yeah, they start off with a lot of zombies. A lot of these are zombie trophies, but like there's a lot, and when I say a lot, I mean a lot of characters. Like look at this. Look at all these characters, especially these zombie ones sucked. These four were all awful to get. So not a lot of fun at all. The zombies I think a Call of Duty BO4 was fantastic. I know a lot of people kind of shit on it, but I had a lot of fun kind of going through these. They had some really, really good maps. Like for the base game, 9, I think is one of the best maps ever made. Ancient Evil also up there, top 5. Um, kind of the Ether remakes all kind of sucked, like Tag Your Tone Alpha Omega, awful. But I would not recommend ever going for this platinum, literally ever. Um, if I'm gonna make a video at some point about top 5 platinum trophies I would never go for again, and this is in there for sure. It was a horrible experience, and maybe last year, 2 years ago, was when I 100%ed it again. And it was even worse than the first time. A lot of hackers or people who are just gods at the game is they've only played BO4 for the past 6 years. But terrible game. Would not recommend going for that. Then we contrast. We go to Dying Light, which another game me and Kaz did. And this game is fantastic for a co-op game. It is the early game is honestly pretty difficult because it's one of those games, kind of like Dead Island, where you're making your own stuff in terms of like weapons and you're running around with like a stick. There's thousands of zombies, and at nighttime you have those like souped up zombies that are absolutely horrifying because they're so fast, they're so strong. But this 100% had a lot of fun with. The base game and the platinum honestly were pretty easy. I didn't have much trouble with that. There weren't that many like standout trophies of things that were difficult. I think the difficult things really come in the form of the DLC. The Parkour Fever ones kind of sucked because the parkour in this game, where it's fun, it's not great to like speed run, and a lot of those were time trial things. The following DLC was pretty easy, and I think a lot more fun than the base game, and I had a great time with the base game. You get to have like your own car and just driving around running over zombies. The hardest part by far in this 100% was the Bozak Horde, which is kind of like a roguelite. Like you just start in with a couple things and you have to go through these different challenges. They're usually timed. This one was really hard. It took us a lot of attempts and it's buggy. I remember we had to beat it like a couple times before the trophy would pop. Um, but even with all that bugginess, I still kind of think positively about this game, thinking back on it. Here comes our second Kingdom Hearts game, Chain of Memories. And this one, although important for the story, I have the most negative feelings and negative things to say about this one. So, for those of you who aren't into the Kingdom Hearts genre and the know of the lore, a lot of the older games weren't even on PlayStation. Like this one was a Game Boy game, if I'm not mistaken, and then they kind of redid it and made it into a console game. And this whole game was based on cards, so it's like a card battling system while also being like actiony. It was a interesting mix where you would have cards and you have to use them and combine them to attack, but you were still running around. It wasn't like a Yu-Gi-Oh game, right, where it's just like you're playing a card and seeing what happens. This was still like an action game where you were running around. It wasn't turn-based. So that part, it was interesting. It was unique, fun enough to kind of get through. I don't have a lot of negative things to say about the combat system itself. The really shitty part about this platinum was there were two campaigns with Sora and Riku, and you had to get to level 99 with both of them. And there's no easy way to level up in this game. For Sora, like you could kind of make a deck where you just spammed all the cards and you didn't really have to pay attention. But Riku had a preset deck, so you physically had to like pay attention and play the entire time grinding up to level 99, and that took hours. And kind of when I think about this game, that's really all I think about is how long I had to take grinding up for those. That kind of overshadowed any joy I had going through the game and kind of getting the different cards. Oh, Bioshock. This is, in terms of like a first playthrough, might be number one for me of all time. I loved this game so much. I think I went through this game like from start to finish 3 times in the matter of like 2 days to get this 100%. I really like the game does feel mildly outdated when you play it now. Um, but even then, I think it just adds to the allure and the environment of Rapture. Like going down that elevator for the first time and seeing this city underwater was like magical, I think is the only word I could use to describe that. It was fantastic. And the platinum itself wasn't hard at all. There's one pretty difficult trophy, and I think it was for beating the game without using like a Vitae chamber, something something like that. I forget the exact name, but it was a thing where you die, you like respawn back in it, and there was like some exploit that you could do where you didn't really have to worry about it. And I remember doing that, so that made it a lot easier and I think a lot more enjoyable if I'm being honest. But Bioshock, this platinum was fantastic. When I think about that, I just have positive emotions, positive feelings. I don't think I really have anything negative to say about it. The DLC, the challenge rooms, they, they were like pretty easy to get through. There might have been like a couple that were like mildly challenging, but they all felt pretty rewarding and fresh. They didn't really feel that repetitive. There weren't that many to feel like burnt out doing them. So this one was fantastic. Another Call of Duty game. I really don't play like that many Call of Duty games. I somehow have like multiple COD game 100% on my account. Um, this one I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was just mostly campaign, right? Yeah. It was like almost all campaign, if I'm not mistaken, for the platinum. Um, Pretty sure I'm not. Yeah. So it was all campaign stuff, which is like obviously super easy to do campaign stuff in a Call of Duty game. The Spec Ops, this was I actually really enjoyed these. I don't know if anyone played this on like release. This game, these were like really difficult on release, and I think they had to nerf them at some point. But having a full squad and going through those was a blast. Honestly, such an easy like platinum in 100%. I I can't imagine it's more than like a 3 on like PSN. I'd be shocked if it was higher than that. It was like just super easy. And if I'm not mistaken, I think this was the first Call of Duty that had like crossplay. I might be wrong, but I remember I got this to play with my cousin who was on Xbox. So I'm gonna go with that. First Call of Duty with crossplay. But yeah, not much to say about like a Call of Duty game with the campaign. They're all pretty forgettable. I can't really remember much about any Call of Duty other than like Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare 2 or something. Oh god, Dead by Daylight. So you guys are gonna see this game pop up multiple times on this trophy list. And why is it gonna pop up multiple times? So you see that it says 1 out of 3? I feel like not a lot of people know this because there's not a lot of games where this is even a thing. But once a game gets to 125 trophy for a PS4 game, PS5 is different, but for PS4 games, once the trophy list gets to 125 trophies, they have to make a new page. Right, so that's why it says 1 out of 3. And that just shows you how many trophies are in this godforsaken game. So I started playing this game like very early on when I got my PS4, like one of the first games because a buddy told me you could kind of play as these like fun killers, and like I loved Freddy on Nightmare on Elm Street growing up, and he's in it. So I got that, and out of all the games I have the most hours in this by far. I think I'm at a little over like 2,500 at this point. But what is so awful about this game is every 3 months they add a new DLC, and that's why there's so many trophies in this. And all of them end up being like pretty similar. They follow the same exact pattern. So I'll just choose this one with the plague. So they all have this adept trophy for the killer, adept trophy for the survivor, which is just using their own perks and escaping. They'll all have a trophy related to one of their perks. Right for this one, um, which one? Yeah, heal survivors 50 health states while injured, which has to do with one of her perks. So they all have a trophy related to the perk for the killer and survivor. And then there's usually like a new map, so there's a trophy tied to the something with the map, and then something tied to their power, usually. But this has just been horrific. And I'll talk a little bit more about the second page because that has the worst trophy by far in this game. But I played this game a lot. I still do kind of play it. The platinum itself is super easy. It takes very, very little time to get this, but I could not recommend going for the 100% to one single person in this entire world. The fact that they keep adding DLC every 3 months has made my life a living hell, having to keep going back and doing the extra trophies. But early on, like I loved this game. I used to play this game like every single day. So going for these trophies was super fun. But we'll talk about this a little more because this is going to pop up multiple times on the trophy list. Borderlands 2. This was another co-op game, did with Kaz, and I think all the Borderland games except 3 were all pretty similar. None of them stand out in terms of difficulty or grind or anything like that. Borderlands 2 is pretty fun. These games, the story is pretty bare bones of, yeah, something happens, gotta go save the world from this one person, whatever it is. But these games are very funny, which I think is the allure to them, especially if you like looter shooters. Borderlands 2 is probably the best of the Borderlands games. As you can see, these games have so much damn DLC. A lot of them are like very forgettable. I really can't remember any of these as standing out at all. I don't even remember what any of these are about. But games are, they're like medium length, I would say. In terms of getting like the platinum at 100%. They're not short by any means, but they're all pretty easy. So this one in particular, there wasn't anything really standing out in terms of like being difficult. And here is probably like 95% of people's favorite Kingdom Hearts game. Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix is fantastic. If anyone has never played this, even if you're not into the Kingdom Hearts games, I highly recommend playing this game. The story is probably one of the best in the Kingdom Hearts series in terms of like a standalone game. But what really stands out about this game was the combat, and the combat was immaculate. The platinum itself, kind of similar to Kingdom Hearts 1. It's pretty long, follows the going through the story a couple times, beating it on Proud, which is the hardest difficulty, synthesizing every material. Um, but then, oh, actually, clearing the game on critical. I forgot that they added critical, which is past Proud mode. So yeah, there's a trophy for Proud mode, and then critical mode gets unlocked, and it just kind of decreases your health, increases enemy health. It's honestly not too bad. Like 11.5 people did that, so it's not that bad. Um, yeah, so as with all the other Kingdom Hearts games, they have their secret optional bosses, which is probably my favorite part of the games. And this one has some of the hardest secret bosses. This Lingering Will fight is insane. Like a lot of people think of these games with Sephiroth being the hardest, but it's not even in comparison with how much harder the Lingering Will is. This man just tossed my salad for hours upon hours. And even then, I just think positively about this game. The story was so good. Um, there's also for this version, not for the PS2 version, but they added the Organization 13 fights at the end, so you get to go through each organization fight. They're all unique, fun, different. The game is just fantastic. I highly, highly recommend playing this game to anyone, even if you're not going to play all the Kingdom Hearts games, to at least play this one. They still had a lot of the like good Disney worlds where you're still fighting the Disney bosses, which kind of adds to the fun factor, I think, for these types of games. But I only have positive things to say about Kingdom Hearts 2. Even the Platinum, I think for some games, you can have a good game and the Platinum kind of ruins it. I think going for the Platinum for almost all of these games added to the experience, which not a lot of games um, can say that about. But fantastic game. Bioshock 2. I feel like a lot of people kind of shit on Bioshock 2, but this almost seems like a Dark Souls thing to me, where like everyone loves like 1 and 3, and if anyone has anything negative to say, it ends up coming at Bioshock 2's expense. But I thought this game was fantastic. The story was pretty solid. I'm pretty sure this is the one where you're playing as like the Big Daddy and going to save like your daughter, maybe. The gameplay itself feels, I think, a lot more fluid than Bioshock 1 just because it's a little newer. So the shooting, the gunplay feels more crisp, which obviously feels better. The story, nothing compares to Bioshock 1 story, but the story for 2 kept me entertained, captivated. I really enjoyed that. Platinum again, pretty easy. There wasn't anything that really stands out to me now from when I did it. And there were some DLCs, right? The Protector Trials, Minerva's Den. Minerva's Den was actually pretty cool. Just added to the story some more. Protector Trials were kind of standalone challenges where you're protecting like a, what they called like a little sister. Is that what it is? I don't even say it in these. Yeah, I think, but the whole 100% doesn't take very long. You can get it done in a couple days. It's not challenging, and it is a really positive experience. I enjoyed that a lot going through that. Um, Minecraft PS4 edition. Oh, this is like another one, but like DBD, where they just kept adding DLC. And yeah, like look at this, so much DLC. But if you're playing Minecraft, this is like another one I do with Kaz. Minecraft playing it in like co-op is one of the best gaming experiences I think anyone could have. There's just so much to do and so much like fun stuff, like building your own world the way you want. There's so much creative liberty that you could have in this game, and it's just like such a wholesome experience. And the platinum itself was like so easy. Like there's not a single trophy in this that was even remotely challenging. It's like making bread, baking a cake. Like all of this stuff is just stuff like you're normally doing in the game. So it's just not difficult at all to do all this stuff. And it's just such a fun thing to go through with a friend or a group of friends. So if you're just trying to go for a platinum, this game's super easy. The DLC ruins a lot of it. As I showed you, there's just so much, and they just kept adding so much extra bullshit, which makes the game more fun in itself, but going for all those DLC trophies became pretty annoying. To be honest, I was kind of over it at the end. But just playing Minecraft in general, super fun. A lot of positive experiences, emotions when I think back on playing that. Um, I don't know if I'd play it again. I definitely can't play the PS4 version because I'm pretty sure they kept adding stuff. So there's a second trophy page, and as long as you don't open the game after the second trophy page came out, you don't have to go through it, and it doesn't pop up on your trophy list. So I will never play the PS4 version ever again. But if you're just going for the platinum, this one's pretty easy and pretty short, and also enjoyable. So I I'd recommend it. Here we go, another Kingdom Hearts game. As you can see, it just goes like Kingdom Hearts, Bioshock, Kingdom Hearts, Bioshock. Birth by Sleep, in terms of story, I think is one of my favorite. It doesn't even follow Sora, who's like the main Kingdom Hearts character. It's weird. With the Kingdom Hearts lore is so confusing. If you ask someone to explain it, it would take like an hour for them to do like an okay job. But this was another game that isn't part of like this main series of like one, two, or three. It's a spin-off game, but in terms of the story and the overarching story and lore, it's probably the most important game. And you're playing with like Aqua, Ven, and Terra, and I have mixed emotions about this one in terms of the platinum. So there's three different campaigns you play with each character, and you have to fully 100% each one. So you have to 100% this game three times for the platinum, and it takes like 180 hours. And this was another game that wasn't on the console. I forget if it like what Game Boy, 3DS, DS, whatever. They're all kind of blend together, but this was on one of those. So the gameplay, even though they like optimize it for console, still feels somewhat limited and kind of bare bones at times. So having to go through everything three times, it feels bad by the end. And there's a lot to go through. They have like different mini games you have to like fully master and get the highest rank on. You have to synthesize everything, and there's quite possibly the hardest optional boss out of any Kingdom Hearts game, at least up until 3. The mysterious figure. And fuck this fight. You have to do it 3 times. You have to beat him 3 times. And a lot of people think that Terra is the hardest character to play because you don't really get iframes or as much iframes when you dodge compared to basically every other character in any Kingdom Hearts game ever. But I actually probably like a half hour or so was able to beat him with Terra. The same thing with Ven. Aqua's viewed as like the easiest. She has like a really good dodge. I spent probably 5 or 6 hours on Aqua's fight against him, and the fight just sucks. The guy's moves are crazy. He does this move where he gets rid of all your like attack moves and just scatters them on the ground. This one took a little bit of Chain of Memories where you have cards that you could use to do extra attacks. You have like your base attacks, but you have like extra special attacks. And the best way to use them is to have them in a specific order. And when this asshole hits you with this one move, it scatters them and you pick them up and they're just in a different order and you get kind of screwed. So I loved the game itself. Like the story was unbelievable. It was super important for the overarching Kingdom Hearts world. But the platinum was pretty rough. It was like 150 hours of a kind of limited game that wasn't meant to be on console, and just redoing everything 3 times by the end felt pretty draining. But again, like told myself I was gonna platinum every single Kingdom Hearts game, and that's what I did. So I'm happy I did it. View the game positively, but the platinum not so much. So now we go on to the third Bioshock, and this one it's weird. The story itself was pretty good. Um, the base game story was fine. I don't think it came really close to the first Bioshock. The story really picked up with this DLC, this Burial at Sea DLC, where for the base game, it seems kind of like it's a standalone game, to be honest, where it's just like completely part of Rapture. You're in the sky, you're in a completely different area. But the DLC really brings it back and completes the whole story that was started in Bioshock 1, and I absolutely loved the ending. The Platinum itself, I remember there was one like pretty difficult trophy, and it was completing the game. I mean, we could probably find it. I think it was completing the game on like 1999 mode without using like money for a certain thing. Yeah, so there's one for beating out of 1999 mode. And then there was another one that was doing like a specific thing on that mode. And that one was the one that was pretty difficult. It wasn't like unfairly difficult. If you kind of play these games on the hardest difficulty, they're not. It's not terrible. It's probably towards the bottom of the list. Unless I passed it because I'm just scrolling through really fast, which is very. Oh no no no! Here, the very last trophy, 99 mode without purchasing anything from a dollar bill machine, and I'm pretty sure this is the one that gave you like health and ammo and whatever like your mana magic bar thing is. Like I'm pretty sure that you could buy that stuff from the dollar bill machine. So not being able to buy any of that made it so like your resource management was so important. And also in that mode, I think if you died, you lost money. And if you didn't have enough money for it, your game would just be over. So it was stressful going through that, but honestly, I had a lot of fun with it. It was like one of those fun challenges that never felt like super unfair, with the exception of like one particular boss fight. I think it was like a ghost boss fight. You were in like a little courtyard. That part sucked, especially on that mode. There was way too many enemies. They did way too much damage. You didn't do enough damage. I feel like you never had enough ammo or health. So that part sucked. I remember being really mad at that part, but the rest of the game really wasn't that bad. It was a fun challenge. I view that as pretty positive. The negative part of this game was this last DLC. And it was just like a wave-based DLC, and some of them just became like so difficult. It felt pretty repetitive at times. I think you had to do like like specific challenges on each wave. So it wasn't just beating it. There was like a specific challenge you had to do on each one. And if you went through, they might have been like each area might have had like 20 waves or something like that. And if you, let's say you didn't get a challenge on like wave 18, you had to go through like all of them to get back there to have a chance at doing that challenge. So the DLCs felt like pretty annoying in that regard, where I did not enjoy that DLC at all. So any negative feelings I have towards this game comes strictly from that DLC. So if you're just into getting platinums, this is like a good, like fun challenge platinum. The DLC not so much, but I have a lot of positive thoughts for the platinum. Oh God, Batman Arkham Knight. So fun story with this one was in college I didn't have like a PlayStation. I just didn't really have time, but my roommate did. And this was a game that he had, and I remember he couldn't get past a part on one of the Batmobile sections, and I kind of just smoked it for him and ended up like finishing the rest of the game and loved this game. So when I had my own PlayStation, I was like, I gotta go back and do this. I had a lot of fun with that. I think the combat in these Arkham games is honestly unmatched. Like the combat is so fun. Even in like Arkham Asylum, where the game's pretty old, it felt so good. So going through this game was fantastic. I know a lot of people don't love this game, especially compared to like Arkham City, Arkham Asylum, but I don't see the negatives that a lot of people talk about. I think the story was pretty good. The Batmobile sections do feel a little forced, and it seems like there's a little too much. Like there shouldn't be like boss fights for a Batman game, so that felt a little off. But the true pain in this platinum comes from, and if anyone's played these games, you know, the Riddler trophies. Oh my god. The Riddler trophies suck. Like, they really are just awful. And I don't really have anything positive to say about Riddler trophies. There's just so many of them. And it's the same with like the other Arkham games. But this one just they just doubled down and they're like, yeah, we're just gonna throw like 500 in there. They never seem to end. It really just was not like an enjoyable experience at all going for those. But even with that, like I still view the platinum as positive. I'd still recommend it to people. The part that really makes me not like this game is all of this. All of this nonsense. And some of them aren't awful. Some of these DLC packs, there's really not that much in them. Like, I mean, this one has like a decent amount of trophies, but this is just like a story-based DLC. Like some of these are just story-based DLCs and they're not bad. Like this one has some of these have like I think like one single trophy. All right, this one's not even gonna pop up now. Okay. Um, like some of these you just go through with the Batmobile and a racetrack and you get like this is unbelievable. They're just not gonna show the trophies now. Oh, yeah, look at that. Like there's like a single trophy where you just go through a couple races with your Batmobile and it's fine. So you're like, well, why is it so bad? Like some of these seem pretty easy. And that's because we are going to come down here to the community challenge pack. And this challenge pack made this experience so horrific. They have some of the worst trophies, and like we'll go through some of them. So you have to go through this one challenge without getting hit a single time with Batman, Nightwing, and you have to use only beatdowns, so you can't get hit a single time. And you know, you play a little bit, it ends up not being too bad. And then we go kind of the same thing here, and we are going to come down. to right here, the curtain falls. And in this area, you have to do a flawless free flow in every round with four characters. And the flawless free flow means that you can't get hit. You can't let your combo drop down. So if you go like a couple seconds without hitting someone, or if you hit someone who's guarding or hit someone with a shield, it breaks your combo. And there were like 4 rounds. And doing this was horrific. I spent hours and hours and hours, and it sucked. And then this one, the Requiem for a Killer, might have been worse. You had to get, I think, a score of like a million in this one area to get this boss to spawn in. And to get a score of a million, you basically had, it was, I forget, it was like a multi hundred combo streak, like a 300 combo streak to get a high enough score. So you can't get hit, you can't get blocked. This thing took me hours and hours and hours and hours, and it was horrific. And I would not recommend ever going for this ever. So this whole thing, hated it. Really nothing positive to say about it. Dead Island, another co-op game, did with Kaz. I enjoyed this one. There really wasn't anything too wild in this. It was just a fun co-op game, kind of similar to Dying Light. You're just making weapons, fighting off zombies. It was just good. I enjoyed it. A lot of positive things. If you have someone to play a co-op game with, would highly recommend it. Feels very, very janky. This is like a game made years and years ago. So it takes a little while to get used to the janky controls, but still fun. Story is just kind of normal zombie story. But let's move on to what I think is one of the hardest games that someone can platinum is Crash 4. Um, oh my god. Seemed like do the other Crash games, and I was like, fun challenge. This is not. I would not recommend ever doing this. The game is so difficult. Um, just in terms of the gameplay itself compared to the other ones, it's a lot more challenging. The areas are like 2 to 3 times as long, on top of being just more difficult in like frame to frame gameplay. But what made this game so hard was you had to get a platinum relic on every single level, and then you had to do every single level, getting every crate without dying. And I spent hours and hours. I snapped a controller in half at one point because I was so mad. Oh my god. This game was the bane of my existence for like 150 hours. And Toxic Tunnels, for anyone who's played this game, that level, I have nightmares about it still. I think it took me 4 hours just to get the Platinum Relic, and then another 4 hours to get the Perfect Relic. And everyone's gonna have their own like really difficult levels in this, but if I see someone who have this game on their trophy list, I know they're like a hardcore trophy hunter. So if you like kind of want to get into that, like I want to have a really respectable trophy list, I think this game needs to be on there. And it's not a game that's impossible to do. You know, it's not like Crypt of the Necrodancer, but it's hard. And I'm going to get into some other hard games I've done, and this I think blows all of them out of the water. This game is so difficult. Rocket League, this was a fun one. Did again with Kaz, a little co-op game. The game Rocket League itself is fun enough. I know people really love this game, play it. I think the gameplay's fine. Going for the trophies, I think was fun. It made me enjoy the game a lot more than just kind of playing it for just kind of normal fun. So if you have, actually, I think one of these trophies might even be unobtainable with all this DLC. I don't remember which one it was. It was like trading an item or something. I don't know. I haven't played this game in years, but I kind of just heard that from someone. Didn't really look into it. So be aware there is maybe an unobtainable trophy in the DLC. I'm not 100% sure. Here we go. Another Dream Drop Distance Kingdom Hearts game. This one, the story is a little out there. Still, all these games are really important to the main story. I love this game, as with like every Kingdom Hearts game. This one was the one with like the like Pokemon like sidekick things, which was weird, and I didn't like love those. But the combat itself was pretty fun. There's a secret boss. I actually don't remember his name in this one. I know it looked like Pete, and I don't think that was his name. Um, yeah, I can't remember his name because I think it was something stupid that the guy looks exactly like Pete and is just somehow called something else. But a lot of these things are just like mini games, synthesizing, beating bosses, a lot of that stuff with like little spirit animal things, which I don't know, they're fine. I didn't love them, but they're not like a deal breaker for the game. Um, I'm trying to find the name of this guy because there's one secret boss. Maybe he's at the top and I just scrolled past him. There's one secret boss that is people think is really difficult. I didn't really think he was all that hard, if I'm being honest. Yeah, actually, there might not even be a trophy for beating him. I think he's part of this trophy though, which is achieving 100% completion in combat. And he's just like part of the combat thing. But there's like such an overpowered move in this that you could just kind of spam and it makes everything like so trivial. So like pretty easy game. If you're going for all the Kingdom Hearts games, this is not going to be one of the roadblocks. I will tell you that. But easy enough game. Uncharted. This is another game I did with Kaz. Obviously, it's not co-op. We just kind of did side by side. It was pretty fun. The story, like Indiana Jones stuff. I'm sure you know about this game. Story was good. Um, got through the platinum easily enough. There's one trophy in this. I think it's this one, right? The brutal difficulty, which is honestly pretty rough. I think there's a way you can exploit it though to make it a little easier. Like one of these difficulties was actually hard. The game feels a little dated with the gunplay, which isn't a problem on the lower difficulties, but when the enemies are shooting machine guns that just tear through your health and you don't have crisp gunplay, it makes it feel pretty bad. But I don't know. The game was fun. I really did enjoy this game. I don't have anything negative to say about it. I definitely recommend it. I've been meaning to get to the other ones. Who knows when it'll happen, but I enjoyed this one. The Amnesia Collection. I love horror games, and the first Amnesia, I can't say it's one of my favorite games of all times because there's honestly no replayability whatsoever with it. But in terms of a first playthrough, the first Amnesia game is one of my top three games of all time. I know Bioshock 1 is going to be one. Amnesia: The Dark Descent is either going to be two or three. I'd have to think about it. But the first, oh God, I love that. It was such a great experience and it meant so much. I only have positive things to say about it. The trophies themselves were honestly pretty fun. This one in particular, which is, my name is Daniel, and I have made life exceptionally hard for myself, which is like beating the game on hard mode, and you only get like a certain number of saves. It's like a fun challenge. It's stressful as all shit. Um, I love that. Going through the first one, first Amnesia, and what the Amnesia collection, they actually include the whole trilogy in the trophy list. So it is a little annoying they only get one platinum for fully completing three games. So that kind of sucks, but the trophies for the first one were not bad. The second game you could beat in like 5-10 minutes, and the second game is like super fun. The trophies are pretty easy. Then the third one, Machine for Pigs, is fine. I'm like very neutral about that game. I don't really have honestly anything positive to say, nothing negative to say. It's largely a walking simulator. It's not overly scary. Not a lot of negative things about it though. Trophies are easy, so that part. The big draw for the Amnesia collection is the Dark Descent, which is the first game, and really revolutionized, I think, this whole genre of like this survival horror type game where you can't fight back. You can kind of just run and hide. And this one was fantastic. I really, really enjoyed it. I'd highly recommend it. Destiny 2. Honestly, depending on like what month you're looking at this trophy list, determines like how hard or annoying it's gonna be. So it's just changed so much, and they just keep changing the trophies and the platinum. So I don't know. When I first started playing it, the hardest trophies were for beating these raids on like the hardest difficulty. And then they changed it to make it into like a a Nightfall and like Grandmaster, which was when I did it when they first. Yeah, so they still have it. Nightfall Strike on Grandmaster, and I had to grind. This was me, Kaz, and Trent when we played this, and we played probably 50 hours of grinding to get to a high enough level to be able to be allowed to do the Grandmaster. And then I spent probably another 10, 15 hours practicing the Grandmaster to be able to beat it. And then I kind of carried those two through it. Um, but it was fun. I really do enjoy this game. There's a lot in this game. I know it has like this huge cult following where even like years after it's been released, it still has like a shitload of players. So I enjoyed it. I think now I actually helped another friend get the platinum a couple months ago, and they had something where you could instantly be the max level, so you could just dive right into Grandmaster stuff. So I don't know, maybe they still have that. Made it a lot easier without doing the grinding. So overall, pretty good game. Some people kind of know lives with the game, and you're playing online. It's a little frustrating. They have all this like pay to win stuff or like all these weapons that you have no way of getting. So a little annoying in that regard, but platinum is easy enough. Uh, you can see a lot of the We Were Here games. I did all these with Kaz, and these games are fantastic. Oh my God. These are just like co-op puzzle games where you're in one room, they're in another room, and you just have to describe what's going on in your room for them to complete a puzzle, and you just kind of keep going through that the whole time. They're all really short. Like you could do them in like a day if you're playing a lot, or like definitely in under a week. A few days, you'll get this. Find a co-op partner, like a friend that you like playing games with, and you guys are gonna have a blast with this. Um, I only have positive things to say about this game in particular. I think the first one was the most fun, like a 10 out of 10 fun. The other ones are still up there, but all of these games are fantastic. If anytime they release one of these, I will instantly get it and play it. Um, I absolutely love these. Fragmentary Passage, another Kingdom Hearts game. This was like a side game of a side game, kind of just get gearing up for Kingdom Hearts 3. And as you can see, there's no platinum. That's how short of a game it is. It was really fun. The combat was fantastic. Story amazing. The trophies were actually really hard. Honestly, I think harder in this than a lot of the other Kingdom Hearts games because there's these challenges you have to do, and some of them are just ridiculous. Like you have to beat a boss without taking any damage, kind of things like that. So it only took like 5 to 10 hours, but it was like a hard 5 to 10 hours, especially for some of those challenges. Still important for the story. The gameplay still really fun. Still recommend it. 100% is rough. Uh, the Witness. Yes, the Witness. The Witness. I hate this game. This game is one of like the hardest puzzle game I've ever played in my life. It starts off fun, and by like the second or third area, I just used a guide for every puzzle because I just didn't know how to do any of them. They become so outrageous. Like one of the areas, you have to listen to birds chirping in a certain tone or pitch to figure out what to do with a puzzle. Like it's become so abstract and unintuitive that it's not even fun anymore. Like you could follow a guide for all the puzzles except the very last part, which is like the it was like the challenge room or whatever they called it. I don't even remember. Complete a certain challenge, and man, this thing sucks. It's RNG in terms of like what the puzzles are, and it's timed. So you have to do like a bunch of puzzles and not a lot of time. So even like having gone through with the guide doesn't help you at all get the platinum. There was like an exploit where if you got through like 90% of it, you could freeze the time. So the last couple puzzles you could do without a time limit. So I obviously did that and helped, but this took me hours to do, and I hated that. Um, Ratchet and Clank games, I love. This is probably my second favorite series of all time, especially the original trilogy. And I we'll get into those a little later, but I love these games, and the remakes were fantastic. This one in particular was such a nostalgia hit. They included so much of the original games that I love this. Like this game is such an easy platinum and so just easy to get through. I would recommend this for everyone. The story's amazing. The gunplay is fun. It's not overly complicated or hard. These games are just fantastic. They're funny. So I really enjoyed all of these. Um, I don't have a lot to say about these games other than they're just fantastic. Like I could just rave about these pretty much all day. But I would highly recommend doing them. They're short, just short and sweet games, and that's what I kind of love about them. Borderlands, the pre-sequel. Was was this the one? Hmm, I can't remember if it was this one or one of the other ones. Honestly, all the Borderland games, like I said, they all just blend together. They're all the same. Nothing really stands out in any of them. Complete the game, go do some certain challenges, grind to a level to be the secret boss, yada yada yada. The DLCs in this one, I don't think it was this one that they were bad. So like, really not bad. You could just, if you have a co-op partner, this is another one I did with Kaz. They're fun to do with a co-op partner. I think I played with like Claptrap in this, and you could just annoy your partner the whole time, which is what I did, and what made it kind of funny. But like, you could do it. It's easy enough to do with a co-op partner. There's nothing difficult, nothing particularly grindy. So I enjoyed them. Persona 5 Royal. This is the third game in terms of like first playthrough that I was just enamored with. So I think I'd probably put this maybe at 3 and Amnesia at 2. This was one that Kaz was bugging me to play for years, and it's a fantastic game. The problem with this game is to get through the campaign takes you 100 hours. Just the campaign. I mean, the platinum will also, like, once you're done with the campaign, if you do everything right, you'll get the platinum. So there's not like extra stuff you necessarily have to do. Um, but the story is immaculate. I'm not a huge fan of turn-based combat, but the music in this is so good that the turn-based combat doesn't feel bad. If you like don't mind turn-based combat or you like it, then you'll love this game. It is fantastic. I did something that Kaz still isn't happy about. One of my first personas, which are like the characters you use, like you could think of as like a Pokemon you have, was resistant to like more than half of the attacks in the game. But he was like super weak. Like he didn't do much damage, but he would just take literally zero damage from like almost every type of like ailment or whatever they call them, like the fire, electric, dark. I don't even remember all of them. Divine, but he was like immune to like more than half of them. So there was a end game boss that literally every one of his moves did zero damage to me, and I would just like chip away at his health, and he could do nothing about it. So that was really funny. Like I said, the only negative I have to say about this is how unbelievably long it is. Like it just never ends. But the story is fantastic. The gameplay's fun. The music is immaculate. So I enjoyed this one a lot. Castle Crashers. This was another co-op game I did with Kaz. Fantastic co-op game. Like it's just like a nice, fun, easy game to go through with a co-op partner, like a side scroller uh game. I loved it. If you have a co-op partner, definitely play it. It's it's fun, it's easy, it's short. Don't really have anything negative to say about it. It feels like a little janky, but like those side scrolling like beat 'em ups never feel great, so easy enough. Control. This game it's weird. Like the things I remember at this game, the story is unbelievable. The environment is so cool. The platinum wasn't hard. There were some like secret bosses that were fun to go against. What I remember about this game the most is when you would pause the game. This is only a single player game. There's no multiplayer. When you would like pause the game and unpause it, the frame rate would drop to like 1. And I don't understand how that happened. And it's just like a problem for everyone. It wasn't just like a me not knowing how to pause and unpause the game. So if you could get past that, where the frame rate just randomly drops and you just feel like you're lagging in a single player game, the game is fantastic. The platinum is really easy. I know there was some DLC. One of these was had to do with like Alan Wake, which was really cool. The story is just like it's a unique gameplay, unique world, unique story. It is really cool. I enjoy this a lot. If you've never played it, definitely play it. If you've never platinumed it, it's easy enough to platinum. I would definitely go for it. Here we go. Me and Kaz rocked through these two together. Um, they're fantastic games. That's really all I have to say about them. They're so much fun with the puzzles. They're really unique. They're not obvious puzzles. There was one puzzle, I think it was in this one, towards the end of the game, that I think this is the only negative thing I have to say. This one puzzle had to do with like knights, and it sucked. We spent like an hour, never came close to it, just kind of randomly guessed stuff and it worked. And having like sometimes with the puzzles, like if you randomly guess it and you see the solution, you're like, oh yeah, I get how like we should have gotten here. We finished that night puzzle and still had no clue. It was such like a poorly designed puzzle. Um, but outside of that one very specific puzzle, these like the game is great. Like the story's fun enough where we're just trying to like escape and just playing with your friend. There's like a lot of laughs to have in these, and they're not challenging, they're not long, so I definitely recommend doing that with a friend. Um, oh boy, Remnant. Remnant is a great game. If you're like into like the Souls genre at all, you'll love this game. It's like a Dark Souls shooter. Played this with Kaz. We got through the whole platinum. Um, Honestly, the platinum, there's one annoying trophy which was like an RNG drop. I think it was like a gold coin or something like that. So that was annoying. It's redoing an area over and over and over and over and over again, waiting for this drop. So that sucked. But the rest of it was great. Like it wasn't hard. It wasn't like easy necessarily, but it was just like you're getting better gear and you feel like you're getting stronger throughout the game. It's fun. And like I said, the platinum was not difficult. I just kind of have positive memories of this game. Like I remember one time I was running across a bridge and Kaz shot an RPG at me and I fell off and died. Uh, Not very funny then, but pretty funny now. Um, and the DLCs were pretty easy, but I'm gonna go. I forget which DLC was in. Was it in this one? This trophy right here. Defeat 10 bosses in a row in survival mode. This is by far the hardest trophy in the entire 100%. And what this mode was is it was a roguelite where you'd start in with nothing. You'd go through an area, there would be a boss at the end. You'd get money, and then you could buy stuff in between rounds, and all the stuff would be randomly generated, like what stuff it was. And we would get to the 10th boss, me and Kaz probably did it like 5 or 6 times, and then die. And all the bosses are randomly generated, like which ones you're gonna get. So some of them you would get that would. There's one in particular that if you didn't have an item, I think is like actually just impossible to beat. There's like this like shield item. So if you didn't get it in the shop and then you got that boss, it was just the GG's. And we just kept dying with the two of us on the 10th boss. So we decided to get our friend Kyle to come in. And Kyle decided he was going to turn it into a drinking game. He was like, yeah, after each round, I'm going to have a drink of my Jack and Coke, like a full drink. And we are like, yeah, that doesn't seem like a good idea because we need help at the end of this. And by the end of it, you're not going to be of any help. He's like, no, 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 it'll be fine. So we're getting through it decently okay, and we got the greatest build ever. There's this one turret build that would just carry you through everything, and unfortunately, Kyle had that build. It was like normally we'd only get a couple of the items where we could kind of do the build, but he had every item, like literally 100% of the items you needed to make the build filthy. And we got to the 10th boss, and before we went in, if you went straight all like straight when you got in the arena, you would just insta die, like fall into a hole and your game's over. You can't even be revived. So we told him, we're like, yeah, Kyle, you come in, you just have to go to the left or right, and then like we'll be fine. He's like, yeah, yeah, I got it. We're like, no, seriously, like if you go straight, you die. He's like, yeah, 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 got it. So I go in first, and I like dodge to the left, and I swing my camera around, and Kyle comes into the arena, and the first thing he does is dodge directly ahead and fall into a hole and just insta die with about 90% of our damage output with his build. So that was a nice like 2 hours. We'll never get back. He instantly turned his PlayStation off. So that one did happen. But this is like super fun going through a co-op game. I know it's going to feel pretty unfair, maybe some negative emotions during it, but you get a lot of fun memories going through that, especially in a co-op game. Um, Kingdom Hearts 3, I love this game so much. The way that they finished off the arc that they started in Kingdom Hearts 1 back in like the early 2000s was fantastic. The platinum itself is one of the easiest platinums of any game I've ever played. Like there's nothing even remotely challenging about it. Um, the real the real challenge comes with this DLC, and oh my goodness, it's this trophy right here. I think I might have broke my hand during this game as I punched my chair really hard, and it was because of this trophy. You have to go through the game with these things called pro codes, and what those are is just makes the game so much more difficult. Like there's pro codes for you can't heal, you can't use any of the overpowered stuff, like barely any magic, you can't level up, you can't use like links or anything else with your party members, and you have to have them like pretty much all on and beat the game on it. Holy shit, man, this was horrific. Like some of the bosses just mollywop you. You can't heal. You're at level 1, so you just take so much damage. You deal no damage. You're basically hitting them with a wet napkin. This was the hardest thing in any Kingdom Hearts game. Um, Again, like in Kingdom Hearts 2, they have the organization members they get to fight, which is really fun. They present like a unique challenge. Um, but this one, Zora, probably I would say easily the hardest boss that they ever released. And I was talking about Mysterious Figure for like base game stuff. But Zora is the hardest boss. His move sets are very long, drawn out. They're fast. They cover a wide area. They do a lot of damage. Fighting him was really fun though. I enjoyed this part. I did not enjoy this part at all. I have nothing positive to say about those damn pro codes. But like I said, I love the story of this so much. Like the first 70% of the game, nothing really happens, which I know is a valid critique a lot of people have of this game. But the last like 20 to 30% of the game, the story is remarkable. And if you've played the other Kingdom Hearts games, you gotta play this. It is so good. Again, Destiny 2, Crash 4 just decided pop like auto pop them because I could, and they took me a while, and I deserve it. Path of Exile, going back to made a video of top 5 platinums I never do again. This would be on there. The game took me 250 hours. Um, this is like a dungeon game, kind of like Diablo, like a dungeon crawl. You go in, get better loot, all that stuff. Oh God, this is a game me and Kaz played a shitload of, like 100 to 150 hours together, and we loved it. Like we went through it like 2 or 3 times, like the campaign, and it is so fun. It's so immersive. What sucks about this is completing every map, and the game itself, it's just very complex. Like it has the biggest skill tree I think in any game ever. I have not looked that up, but I would still say that. Like there are hundreds and hundreds of things that you could pick. So if you don't pull up a guide to come up with a build, the game's almost like not playable, which is really annoying. So our first playthrough with our characters, I think there's this trophy where you have to complete all maps, and there's 16 tiers of them, and there's anywhere from like like 5 to 15 maps per tier. And I don't think we were able to get past like tier 3 or 4 with level 90 characters based on our own builds. And then we stopped playing, and I came back deciding to finish this. And it was a very convoluted 100%. So some of the maps that you have to get are ridiculously expensive. So there's like an in-game marketplace where you could like buy stuff with in-game currency. And some of the maps like would be like $1 million. They don't use dollars in that, but just to put in comparison, like they were just expensive. So I had to go into like a season character at the beginning of a season, just spend all my money getting those maps because at the beginning of a season, people just want better builds and currency. Don't care about the mapping yet. So I'd have to get the like those really rare maps on a season character, wait for the season to end so it would carry over to like the eternal or normal realm. and then I would have it on my main character. Then I had to go through all of them. So this was like a multi-month process. It sucked. Would never recommend doing the platinum, but the game itself is fantastic. Um, Dauntless. This was one of my favorite games for a long time. I think I have like 500 or 600 hours in it. It's kind of like Monster Hunter World, but like with Fortnite graphics. And I was obsessed with this game. The game was so much fun. I have a lot of positive experiences with this. Honestly, I haven't played this in like 2 or 3 years. Um, they kind of did what Dead by Daylight did with kind of screwing up the progression system and just making it like not feel rewarding. And they also did this thing where this is like a straight PvE game. It's really just you up to like three other people fighting a monster. And they just did a worldwide nerf to everything and like halved all your damage. And in a PvE game, it just felt really bad. So I ended up like really never playing this again after they did all that. But um, I loved it. I really did. As you can see, the PS4 version, it was just a lot of like DLC stuff they added and whatnot. And then they came out with a PS5 version, added a platinum. I love playing through this. A lot of positive experiences. I played a lot with my friend Kyle. But at the end of the day, they just kind of nerfed everything, and the game kind of just died off after they did that. So really poor decision on their part. But you know, you can still get into it. It's still really fun. It takes a little while to get things going with upgrading your stuff and getting to the point where you can start earning some of these trophies. But I really enjoyed this one. I enjoyed the game itself for a long time. Um, Resident Evil 7 is, I think, my favorite Resident Evil game. The experience you have going through the story for the first time was nothing short of magical. Like getting chased by Jack early on. Oh my god. That is a fantastic story. The platinum itself, I really enjoyed. You know, the speed run was fun. Going through Madhouse felt very, very unique. I think they did an excellent job with the hardest difficulty in this game. I think a lot of other games either make it like, yeah, you do less damage, they do more. Good luck. And they do that, you know, in this one, but everything is different. Like all the coins that you can get are different placements. You can get different items with them. There's different placements of enemies. Different, and I think there's some different enemies in some spots, if I'm not mistaken. So they did a great job with it. And the DLC in this game, I think, is really where the challenge is. And there are some brutal, brutal DLCs in this. Like this End of Zoe one. Um, yeah, End of Zoe on Joe Must Die is brutal. This man, like, he doesn't really shoot. He just gets like Superman punches, and the enemies do a shitload of damage to you. So this one was rough. Um, his banned footages one. This one, this like Nightmare, Night Terror, like roguelite, like wave-based things. Those are fun. This one right here, Ethan Must Die. This was like the true roguelite RNG. Like you spawn in, you have nothing. You gotta open up like crates and they're randomly generated. And you have to get through like a fun house. This is brutally difficult, but so much fun. Like they did an excellent job of making something really fun and also really hard, and I really commend them for that. And I enjoyed going through this one a lot. Um, there was one that I did not enjoy going through, and this was the Survival Plus mode in 21. This is like a blackjack mode, going against like Lucas kind of, but you had to get through 10 waves of an opponent, and well, the way it worked was like you basically had like this timer next to you that every time you lost, it would go up by one, and there were ways to like increase, decrease it, so you could get it up to like 10 in one turn, and if you lost, you would just insta lose. And the opponent had the same thing, so you had to get through 10 waves of that without losing, and they would like cheat and stuff. So that one sucked. It was like RNG, and they were cheating, so fuck that one. But this game was overall fantastic. I really enjoyed the platinum, the DLCs. I do definitely recommend doing it. Bunny Raiders, it's just like a quick co-op game. It's not shovelware. Still have to have some skill getting through it, but it's short. It's fun. That's really all I have to say about it. It's just like a quick game. Um, Elden Ring, honestly, all a lot of these FromSoft games are going to be similar in that they're fantastically made. Sometimes they're a little challenging. This one I think is the easiest of all of them to platinum. There's not a lot of like bullshit stuff. There's no covenants. Thank the God. Oh my God. Um, but it's fun, especially all these games I like playing co-op. I just like if a game has co-op, I want to play co-op because I like playing with friends more than I like playing by myself. So this is one of those that you get a co-op partner and you just kind of go through the world, enjoy it, get immersed in it. I really enjoyed it. This was my first FromSoft game ever. I think I've enjoyed it even more if I had played the other ones, but this was great. Really liked it. Uh, Paradiso Island. I was just looking through the free PlayStation Store, found this, saw that there's a trophy guide. It was like quick, did in a couple hours, but obviously there's no platinum. But there's not much to say about that. Did the Apex PS5 version, same as the PS4. God of War 2018. So I'm gonna say this. I still have Ragnarok to play, but I've done now one, two, three, and then the remake. I think they're overrated, and I know I'm gonna get killed for that. And I really did enjoy the thought of God of War. Like I love the mythology aspect of it, and I was like, oh, I'm so excited. I really want to do that. This game, I thought the story was so lazy. It was just like, yeah, mom died, gotta go bring her ashes up a mountain. I thought the bosses were horrible. It was like you were fighting the same ogre with a different color for every single one of them. The world itself was pretty cool. Artreus was a little annoying, a piece of shit. I was just whining the whole game like a little prepubescent kid, which obviously he was. So like it makes sense, and they were like accurate to how they act. But like, I don't want to deal with that at all. So that was annoying. The end game stuff is pretty fun, like the Valkyrie stuff, Valkyrie Queens. I enjoyed those a lot. I know a lot of people love these games. This one in particular, I didn't really. It was fine. I don't know. I didn't immerse me the way I was hoping. The Baldur fight I loved. That was also the only god fight you had in the game. So I don't have like a lot of positive emotions towards this game. And before we get into the next couple games, you're not going to see a lot of shovelware, trophies, or platinums on my account. The next couple, probably from like the next 10 to 15 games, there's going to be a lot. And I don't get into a lot of personal parts on this channel. I usually like keeping it about games and trophy hunting, but I'll take the curtain back a little bit, let you guys take a little peek. So, going through med school during our second and third years, at the end of them, we have to take our boards. And for those of you don't know, boards are one of the worst things literally in the entire world. It's an 8-hour test. It's like 400 or so questions, or like 250 to 400, depending. Really depends on which ones you take. But it's like an 8-hour test, and about like 2 months leading up to it, this is what I did every single day, like 7 days a week. Would study 10 to 12 hours every day, 7 days a week for 2 months leading up to it. So I didn't really have motivation or energy to get invested into a game. I didn't want to play any hard games. Just didn't really have the energy to get invested into a story. So during my second year of med school, I just played Dead by Daylight after studying every day because I was still really into the game, really enjoying it. Third year, sometime during my third year, is when the game fell off and wasn't really great anymore and didn't really want to play it. No one else wanted to play with me. So that's when I kind of started getting into some shovelware games where I could feel a sense of accomplishment while still getting the game a little bit and not getting invested into a game that I didn't have the mental space for or the energy for. So we're just gonna fly through them. So like did like ZJ the Ball. Honestly, this is like a fun little platformer, but like definitely shovelware. Batman Telltale game. This isn't shovelware. This was I remember like a monthly game, but pretty quick. Is like one of those PS2 collectathon games, which is fantastic. Those always have a really special place in my heart that I love. More ZJ the Ball. Team Sonic Racing also came out. Uh, this was just like so easy compared to Crash Team Racing. To be honest, like Through Crash Team Racing, you could easily get through this. It's not difficult. So I got through that. It wasn't a problem. Legends of Talia, great story. It's basically just a visual novel, but the story was fantastic. You get a platinum from it, so I enjoyed that. Got both versions. More ZJ the Ball Chickens on the Road. I'm sure any guy is into the platinum trophy hunting sphere. You see like all these shovelware games a lot, right? Just gonna Ghost Runner, fantastic game. It was all like more challenging than I thought or hoped it would be, but it's so much fun in that like futuristic world. It's so fast paced. You feel like a superhero going through. The platinum, just kind of getting through the game and some collectibles and stuff, some miscellaneous stuff. Pretty easy to be honest in terms of like the platinum. The game itself isn't the easiest, but it's a really fun game. If you've never played it, it's very, very unique in its gameplay. Would recommend it. Some more shovelware. The fucking Vampire the Masquerade Blood Hunt. This was like another battle royale my friend convinced me to play, and he played for like 5 hours and then left. It was like fun. It's a very unique battle royale. I played it like right on release, pretty much, and I think I just got a lot of like Fortnite kids wanting to be like streamers playing it, so I just got all the tryhard kids, which kind of dampened the enjoyment in it. But it was fun. The platinum wasn't awful. I think the kids playing it made it worse than I think it would have been. This was another PS2 collectathon game. I love this game so much. As a kid, I'd never even got past like the halfway point in the game because I just wasn't able to figure out what to do. But went back and then this found this on the PlayStation Store and I loved it so much. Oh my god, the story is great. The atmosphere is great. The characters are great. It's nice, a nice, easy, relaxing like PS2 collectathon game. I love this game. If you guys never played it, definitely check it out. Probably takes like anywhere from like 10 to 15 hours. It's not bad. Some more. Was that the yeah? So this is the end of the shovelware spree. Infamous Second Son, I think, is the most average game ever to come out. Like the story's fine, gameplay's fine, trophies are fine. I don't really have anything negative to say about it. I don't really have anything positive to say about it. It was like the most average game I've ever played. Um, so it's fine. Tribes of Midgard. This was super fun when it like came out. Loved going through, especially if you have other friends. You spawn in and it's spawn in with nothing. You're building your little base, fighting off waves of enemies. These like gods come, you have to kill them before they destroy your base. This was a lot of fun if you have someone to play with. The trophies were not very difficult either. Nothing really stands out. I think there was like a survival mode where you have to survive a certain amount of days in a row. Again, not bad at all, especially once you get past like the 10 to 20 day mark. You just become overpowered. Easy. Ape Escape, super fun. Never played on the PS1. The controls feel janky as shit, which is somewhat frustrating when you're like trying to get a monkey and you just can't get the net on them because of janky controls. Um, yeah, it's fine. In terms of the platinum, I don't remember anything being like overly complicated. Like those games for that era, just like a collectathon, like getting all the monkeys, getting whatever other items there are in the world, yada yada. I don't think there's extra difficulties. Just get through the story. This game sucks. One of my friends convinced me to do it, and it's like a Super Smash Bros. Ripoff. If like a toddler was developing it, it sucks. It's just like everything good about like Smash Bros. Is there's none of it here. The platinum is really easy. I think you could like boost a lot of if you had like a second PlayStation or a friend. You just go into like a multiplayer thing and just play some games. I don't even know if you have to win them to be honest. Nothing really to talk about with this. It was just a shitty game. Fall Guys. I love Fall Guys. I've played. I think I have like 200, 250 hours on Fall Guys. I played this game a lot, even just for like fun. Going through the platinum obviously is hard, especially with Infallible, getting the 5 wins in a row. I've gotten this multiple times. I think I've helped like three of my friends get it. I got it like just in duos with my friend. So just kind of smoking people. I helped other friends get in like special game modes. This game is so much fun. If you're playing with like a group of friends, there's just a lot of tomfoolery that could go on during this game, to say the least. It could be a little challenging. Lately, I haven't enjoyed it as much. I don't think the game modes they come out with are as fun as they used to be honest. So I haven't really played it much lately, but I love this game. Even with Infallible being hard, still think it's worth it. God of War, I went back, played the original. This game feels so outdated. Like the gameplay just does not feel good at all. I actually enjoyed the story a lot. In terms of him being this warrior and his um, they're about to lose this battle, and they're all gonna die, and he kind of sells his soul to Ares. Ares ends up making him kill his family, become an ultimate warrior, and him wanting revenge. I think that story is fantastic. The gameplay sucks. You barely fight any like fun bosses, from what I remember in this, which was another complaint I had. And then there was one trophy. I forget. It was some type of challenge. I was probably maybe towards the bottom. I don't remember what challenge it was called. The challenge of the gods, man. This sucks. With the janky gameplay, some of those challenges were just miserable. Not fun at all. Story's good. Rest of the game I did not like. Dragon's Crown, I hated this game. This was like a 50-hour snooze fest. Just like a side-scrolling beat 'em up with chose the worst character. It chose the archer. Had like two abilities compared to everyone else. Just did no damage. Game's not fun. You have to go through the story like 500 times. Did this with Kaz. I regret it. It was not fun. Miles Morales. Honestly, guys, the game's short. All these Spider-Man games are fantastic. The platinums are easy. There's not much to them. Gameplay is fantastic. Had a lot of fun with it. Enjoyed the story. Got through it quick. It's kind of easy enough. Dead or Alive 5 last round. Um, I'm gonna get into this a little more when I get to another Dead or Alive 5 entry, a little higher. This one was pretty easy. This one only took a few hours. It wasn't anything that difficult. But we'll get into the this a little more once we get up higher. God of War 2, I hated this game so much. The gameplay feels a little bit better than 1. Again, you fight almost no gods in the game, so I was kind of mad about that, and this story was unbearable to say the least. The idea, the whole story is him becoming kind of an asshole after he gets his powers and just killing people, and he gets punished for being an asshole. And the rest of the game is him throwing like a 3-year old temper tantrum that he was punished for doing something bad. And that is the whole story. And it's hard for me to relate to someone who just wants to be an asshole and is throwing a temper tantrum for being punished for something they did. So, gameplay I did not think was fun. The bosses suck, and the story was awful. This was a this was just like a puzzle game, like a point and click puzzle game. Not really shovelware. Like it did take a couple hours, I think. This was when I wanted to do a little challenge, doing like a game, um, difficulty like 1 to 10, and I know this was my one difficulty. Honestly, this was before I started streaming, and I don't even remember what the other games were, to be honest. But this was fun. It was actually like really cool story, wild plot twist at the end. Enjoyed it. Maneater, honestly, pretty boring. Like you get to play as a shark, and then the gameplay becomes very repetitive, very quick. You're just chewing on things as a shark. It's kind of a collectathon. Go to an area. There's a couple different collectibles, things you got to do, get. So it was like easy, but it is kind of long. I think it took like 20 hours or something, maybe a little less. So it did take a little while, but it's average if you could get through the repetitive gameplay. Bloodborne was my second FromSoft game. This game was fantastic. I love this game so much. The atmosphere, that like gothic horror, is amazing, and then it turns into this like Lovecraftian monster thing like halfway through the game. This is like a challenging game. It has a huge difficulty curve. It's very different from all the other FromSoft games. So if you're used to those, it takes a little while to get used to this. But and what my favorite part about this is the platinum's like so doable. Again, there's no covenants. It's just like getting through the game, getting some like weapons, some upgrade stuff, and just killing the bosses. And it's just a lot of fun. The DLC, just Orphan of Kos. It's like what this whole thing is. You just go through it, get some weapons, and then go defeat the Orphan of Kos. Um, this was fantastic. I'd highly recommend this to no like anyone. I'm just gonna get a quick drink of water. But no, Bloodborne is fantastic. I'd recommend that to anyone. Persona 5 Strikers, unlike Royal, this is just like an action game, which is still kind of linked to Persona 5 Royal, but it's still a lot of fun. I remember one thing in this game that I vividly remember and annoyed me was the level grinding at the end, and I rubbed like a little baby's foot for I think like 10 to 15 hours. Literally went into an area, rubbed the baby's foot, left, went into the area, rubbed the baby's foot for like 10 hours, so that was miserable. But the rest of the game was really fun. Um, there's not much else I distinctly remember from it. Just upgrading people using their like abilities, getting through the game. The story for these games fantastic. The music's fantastic. A lot of really like positive things to say about that, but that last trophy was horrible. Sly won. Now I'm gonna get into a lot of those other PS2 games that they released. I love the Sly Cooper games. They're all pretty similar in my head in terms of like what happens, and they all follow kind of the same like PS2 collectathon thing. None of them are hard. No trophies are difficult. It's just go into one area, get all the collectibles, beat the boss, go to the next area, get all the collectibles, get all the abilities. Those are all pretty simple. Ghost of Tsushima is one of my favorite games of all time. The story is amazing. The atmosphere and environment is literally number one. It is amazing. Just going through, like, I love like Japanese games, and it just felt so good walking through. The combat felt fluid. The platinum, there's no difficult trophies. It was an easy platinum. Um, the a lot of the DLC was easy, like this Iki Island stuff, New Game Plus. These were easy. Uh, the multiplayer stuff felt pretty bad, if I'm being honest. It kind of felt like a grind snooze fest. Somewhat like the beginning of it was really fun, but once you get through everything and now it's just level grinding, kind of sucks. And it's just redoing the same missions over and over again for a while. So I remember that felt kind of dragged on at the end, but I still love the game. The combat's amazing. I could just like walk around that world, I think, for the rest of my life and just be content. It's so peaceful and nice. Here we go to my second favorite series of all time, Ratchet and Clank. This first Ratchet and Clank, like these games, I'm gonna say the same thing about all of them. They are just amazing. They're not like the PS2 collectathons, so they do feel unique. The gunplay actually does feel pretty good for how old these games are. They're funny. The story is captivating enough. The worlds are nice. There's all these unique guns. This the trophies were easy enough. There was one trophy that was so horrible in this game though. I want to get the number right. This one right here. Collect 1 million bolts. And like a million of like whatever currency in a game now doesn't seem horrible, but this game there's no like you defeat an enemy and there's like yeah here's like 6 bolts and there's no way to grind these out. What I had to do was and obviously I had to stream this game. It's like that PS3 thing, and I don't have a PS3, so I was streaming it, so it could have shut off at any moment. I had to leave my PlayStation on for like 12 hours with like rubber banding my controller so I didn't get kicked out of the stream. And there's this one spot where crates infinitely spawned in, and you would just kind of like use a weapon to break them and suck up the coins or the bolts. And it took literally 12 hours and that was the most efficient way of getting 1 million bolts. So that was horrific, and that's a big like negative. neon sign on this game, but the rest of it was fantastic. I love the story, I love the characters, love the world. These games are great. Sly 2, pretty much the same as Sly 1, honestly. It's a little more in depth, maybe a little more difficult, but these are all easy. They're fun, collectathon games. Ratchet and Clank, Going Commando. I know it says Ratchet and Clank 2, they just didn't put Going Commando. This one is my favorite of all the Ratchet and Clank games. It's great. It's a lot like the first one, going through the worlds. You have to get all the weapons, upgrade them, which is fun because you have to use all of them, get XP. The story is great, worlds are great, characters are great. Only positive things to say about these games. Terraria is like a 2D Minecraft game for those of you that don't know, and it's fine. I played this one with Kaz again, and I think one night I went to sleep and I woke up and he had like all of the best gear for us, so it made it a lot more fun. But the beginning of the game's so slow and boring. Like you gotta get like 5, 10 hours into this game before it becomes even like semi-remotely fun, where you start getting like weapons that's more than a stick. Like once you start getting like some of the fun weapons, this game actually does become really fun. It becomes like a boss rush mode where a lot of the trophies are just killing bosses and making like armor and stuff. So if you could stomach the first part of the game being unbelievably boring, like you get through this. It's okay. Among Us, just a grind fest. Just like killing 500 people or as the imposter doing tasks. Just I don't know, if you have a bunch of like a big group, it could be okay, but it's pretty boring. Cuphead's one of my favorite all-time games. If you're a trophy hunter and you're like, I want my list when people see it to be like impressed, this is one of those games that I think it has this notorious difficulty rating and thought about. And I didn't think it was like that difficult. Like it's definitely challenging, but it's a fun challenge. You feel good when you finish it. It's not long. It's like 10 to 15 hours, and it's like a consistent challenge throughout. I don't. I think maybe with the devil I struggled a little bit, but a lot of the bosses were fun to go against. I even did this on a TV with like a half-second input delay and still got through it pretty easily. So I like if you want to have a game where people are impressed, you could go for this. It's not long and it's not overly challenging, and I really enjoyed it. The music's great. More Sly stuff, pretty easy. Zombie Army Trilogy combined the first three Zombie Army games. Uh, I played this with one of my friends, Trent, and it's fine. It's like an older game, so it feels janky, but every area was like the same. We had to play on the hardest difficulty, which I think added a little more fun to the game. But honestly, it was just like go to within a world, break like these bottles, get through, get certain kills, get like headshots, severed limbs. It was fine. There was some wave-based stuff, like kind of like zombies, like Call of Duty Zombies, which was fun. Not overly challenging, nothing really remarkable about it. Pretty base game throughout the whole thing. Another Kingdom Hearts game. I love this game. This is one of my favorite Kingdom Hearts games. This is a rhythm game, and I think the Kingdom Hearts music is better than any game ever made. And I would argue anyone on that. And that's what this whole game is just going through like all the music. It's kind of rehashing the story, so you get like a little summary of each game while you're going through it. It's great. I love this game. This is a game that I would go back to and play for fun, just because I enjoy listening to the music and relaxing with it. This was a great game. I have so many positive experiences with this. The platinum was not difficult at all, to be honest. You have to beat some stuff on like proud mode, but like once you play the game a little bit, it becomes pretty easy and not bad. Marvel's Avengers has a real bad rap. For the first like 80% of this game, I was obsessed with it. Again, played it with Trent. I used Thor, and we had so much fun going through the story and all this stuff. All of that changed with one trophy. Let me try and find it. Because there was one trophy that really spoiled. Like I went from like a 9 or 10 fun out of fun down to a 0 almost instantly. Um, this complete 50 hive missions. Not like 50 hive missions, they take a while. They can take like anywhere from like 10 to 20 minutes per mission. But what made it so bad was that it was buggy. So it didn't track properly. Some people said like if you didn't do it in a certain number of days, it would reset. So I feel like I did like 150 before the trophy popped, and that spoiled a lot of the fun. But outside of that, the game is really good. I really enjoyed it. The story was good, and you could have a lot of fun with that game. Dark Souls 2, kind of the black sheep of the FromSoft family. I I enjoyed this one. Marjula, the hub world, I think is the best of all of the games. This game gets annoying with the enemy placement and how many there are. I will agree with that. But the game itself, I did this with one of my friends, Paul. He loves these games, so he's like my own personal guide to not have any. There's a lot of missables in these games in terms of like covenants and who you have to talk to and when you have to talk to them and all this stuff. But I enjoyed this. I had a lot of fun going through it. Not a lot of negative things to say about this other than how many enemies there are. There was one really annoying RNG drop where I need like a bunch of them for a covenant. So that's annoying, but that stays pretty constant throughout all the FromSoft games. Again, Borderlands, same thing as the other ones. There was uh this was it this one? Oh my god, I think it was this one. Maybe. One of these DLCs, I think it could have been this one. This game was like really glitchy and this it was like challenging to get through. It was like a wave-based thing. And I remember the game crashed when we were on like the last wave. This is a game I did with Kaz again. So that was really annoying. Like, so definitely get stocked a few points for how ridiculous that is. That game could just crash like that. And it wasn't just like sometimes a crash happens. Like it was like one of those things that you know is just the game. Is it would happen kind of not frequently, but enough where you knew it wasn't just like your PlayStation doing something weird. That was just like the game kind of being shitty with it. But well, it was like kind of similar to the other ones. You get through the game, just challenges, play with the characters, yada yada. Outside of that one DLC thing, nothing really negative to say about it. It's fun to play with someone. Here we go with another FromSoft game, probably the easiest to get through. Uh, Honestly, all these games end up being like the same. You just kind of get through, kill some bosses. This one was really annoying because it had world tendency. So if you didn't look stuff up prior to playing, you could have just screwed yourself. Because if you end up dying a certain way in the worlds, you get like black tendency and it makes all the enemies more difficult and also harder enemies and they hit harder and all this stuff. But I got through the game pretty easily. Again, like with all the other ones, there's some like RNG drops you need to farm. But overall, like this is probably the easiest of all of them. You can just use magic and breeze through the game. Up your arsenal. When I was a kid, this was my favorite Ratchet and Clank. Now the second one is, but again with the other ones, it's just fantastic. There's no difficult trophies. Unlock the weapons, get enough XP to max them out. I could spend like all day talking about how much I love these games, but I'm not going to belabor the point of how great they are. They're pretty short. The worlds are great. The story's great. The characters are great. If you've never played the original trilogy of Ratchet and Clank, I highly recommend it. These games hold up exceptionally well considering when they came out and how they feel to play still. Um, God of War 3, uh, again, the story, I can't stand the story. Honestly, when I was playing, I made up my own story that he was trying to avenge someone and wasn't just like an annoying 5-year old asshole. The gameplay is the best out of the original trilogy. This one I actually really enjoyed because you actually get to fight all these gods as the bosses, which is super fun. So when I told myself that I was a good guy and made up my own story to the game, I enjoyed it more. But again, the story of for this game is dog shit. Like it's horrible. Like I cannot relate to someone who is throwing a temper tantrum for being. His punishment was getting like his powers stripped away too. Like he was just abusing them, killing like random people. And that's like what this whole story is him trying to get revenge for being punished after being an asshole. So I hate it. The story sucks, but the gameplay and the bosses are actually really good in this one. The trophies are all pretty easy, probably like beating on the hardest difficulty. Nothing really stands out in terms of difficulty for platinums. Visage, one of the best horror games ever. Anyone who knows anything about PT, this is like a full length game of it. It is there are some like challenging puzzles, but the platinum is like super easy. There's a couple missables, which is annoying, so you need like a guide unless you want to do two playthroughs. But the game itself isn't that long. Like you get through it in like 10 hours, so two playthroughs isn't the end of the world. But the hard part about this game is getting through it. And I've seen a lot of people say they have to give up on it because it was just too hard and too scary. Not necessarily too hard, but definitely too scary for them. I didn't feel that, but it is a very, very scary game, and I like love horror games. But the platinum itself is not bad. Like it's just random miscellaneous stuff, like finding a random item pretty much, and then beating the game. Bugsnack was like really fun. It was like a really unique like story and kind of gameplay. It gave off those like collectathon vibes of you have to collect certain bugs in an area and whatever collectibles. The game's a little longer than I expected. I don't remember exactly how long it took me, but it is like a sizable game. It's like more than like a 5-10 hour game for sure. Platinum was pretty easy, kind of like in line with those other collectathons where you just go 100% each area and you're good to go. There was a DLC which was annoying. I remember there was uh I think it was like these two like collecting hats or furnishing your hut or something. There was like something annoying with one of those with getting items, but it wasn't like horrible. Another co-op game I did with Kaz, and this game's amazing. This like required so much communication and just skillful cooperation, and just like putting in like different letters and like these little mini games that end up getting like pretty hard at the end. There's in terms of like the trophy list, there's nothing wild in it, to be honest. Um, but it's fun. It gets challenging. It requires a lot of cooperation to play. So if you're like a co-op partner or you're doing like we were here with them, play this game. Super fun. There's really nothing in the trophy list that was that bad. Just finishing each level with like certain like scores and stuff. Way out co-op game I did with Trent. This is super easy. Basically finished the game and there's like some miscellaneous trophies to get. So I think you can even get the platinum before you finish the game. It's like so brain dead easy. The story's really fun to go through. So if you have again co-op partner, play this. It's short, only takes a couple hours, but the story's great. Easy platinum. Another Dark Souls game. I did this with my friend Paul. Um, this one could be really bad. There's a duplication you could do with all the boss souls. So instead of doing three full playthroughs, you could do like one or one and a half, which is what I did. But there's a lot of missable shit in this with all the covenants. The platinum list itself, that's kind of what the annoying thing is. Again, like all the miracles or spells, which require the boss souls, so if you can duplicate them, makes it a lot easier, I think. The game itself really fun. It does feel really dated compared to the other ones. It feels kind of bad playing it a little bit, like trying to dodge. But overall, all these games good. Enjoy them. Until Dawn. This is a game I did side by side with Kaz and Trent. The game is really unique. With you just get to control everything, which is really cool. Not a lot of games are like that. It is annoying because you need unless you want to do like multiple playthroughs, which it is like a long game and I wouldn't want to. You have to kind of follow a guide to make sure certain people don't die, so you don't have full freedom of choice if you want to do in like one playthrough, which kind of sucks. But overall, it's a fun game, especially if you're playing with like other people. This is where I really started. I wanted to go and platinum all the Resident Evil games. I did not like this game. Resident Evil fans are gonna have a temper tantrum and try and assault me. The fixed camera angle, like the tank controls, I hated so much. I did not enjoy it. The story. I mean, the story in Resident Evil games are all the same. Some bad guy made a virus. Go and stop it. But this is like where it all started, so it is cool. It's an old game, so I appreciate kind of everything it did. The platinum list is horrible. You have to go through this thing like 5 times. There's so many playthroughs. One of them's like knife only, and the knife is like shooting like a marshmallow at the zombies. They just don't die, so that sucks. Doing out like invisible enemy, where every enemy's invisible. It's like a fun challenge, I guess. But going through it a lot, it's not an easy game by any means, and you have to go through it so many times. So I didn't. It's not a game I like particularly liked to begin with, so it was kind of rough doing it. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart is the newest Ratchet and Clank game. This was great, much like all the other ones. It's easy, fun. The worlds are nice. I like the story. I like the characters. Such an easy platinum. Just like getting getting all the weapons and stuff, getting through the story, maybe some miscellaneous stuff here and there. It's easy. I enjoy, but it's an enjoyment. I loved going through it. Here we go with another Call of Duty. This one I think was pretty easy compared to a lot of the other ones. Easy multiplayer stuff. The campaign, there was like one really annoying trophy where you had to shoot down every plane in this one section, and it's just like janky controls on like a turret, and it didn't feel good. And if you got past it and you didn't get it, you had to restart the whole mission. So if you weren't quick with the resetting checkpoint, you were kind of screwed on that. But the zombies was fine. Um, DLC trophies, I didn't love any of those zombie maps to be honest. The very first one, which honestly I don't even remember the name of it. Maybe we could try and find it here. But the base game zombie map was pretty good, and I enjoyed that a lot. Going through that and the Easter egg was fun. So the platinum here is pretty doable, pretty easy, especially if you like zombies. It's not bad. Maybe we could find the final rank. Yeah, right. So it's good. Especially if you have someone to play it with, go through the zombies. Stray. A lot of people love this game. It's cool. The world's cool. It's unique. Story's pretty cool. It just didn't captivate my attention that much. You're just playing as a cat, which is like cool in parts, but one of the trophies, the speed run, is kind of it's like kind of a strict speed run time. You don't get a lot of leeway, but it's like normal speedrun trophy. The one trophy where you have to get through the whole area without getting hit at all felt kind of bad. It didn't feel like a fun challenge. It felt like kind of RNG based, and you got more lucky than skillful when you're just running and just hoping that things didn't jump on you. So I didn't love that. But overall, pretty easy and quick platinum. Outriders, it's like similar to like it's a looter shooter. If I, this was a game I played with Kaz, and I think they added some DLC at some point, which I did not enjoy. But the platinum itself was pretty fun in a co-op. You get different skills, different equipment that you can put on. So if you're playing with someone else, it's pretty fun. There wasn't anything that stood out in the trophy list. I think it was just getting certain skills leveled up, getting through the story. So it wasn't particularly long or hard. Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. I honestly hated this game. This was such a drag to get through. The story itself was pretty solid, but I've never been so bored with gameplay in my life. Like, you don't even get to play with the other Guardians. You're just playing with Star-Lord and just, like, generic, boring gameplay for the whole thing. So, going through this was pretty annoying. It was collectibles, so just following a guide to find them. This is a game I wouldn't really recommend. I was like pretty bored with this game, even though like the story itself is good, but nothing else is really that great. Takes Two, another game I did with Kaz. Anyone who's played this knows it's easy. Just get through the game, play the mini games, platinum. But it's a really fun co-op game. The story's pretty cool. You can play with like a girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. Um, Diablo 4. And you're gonna notice this is the first game, and this is actually the only active game I have that isn't at 100%. And why that's the case is I started an Alphabet Platinum Challenge, and then they added a DLC pack after I started it, so I have to wait until after I'm done with this challenge to do the DLC because I don't want this game to be at 100% in the middle of my challenge if they never released extra DLC. This game sucks so much. I love Diablo 3, but this game is not it. There's no, I've almost nothing positive to say about this game. The campaign, getting through the campaign was fun, but it fell off very hard and very fast after that. In these games, it's like very, very important to have a good end game and to feel like you could grind for something. There was no end game at all, like whatsoever. And probably finished everything at like 40 hours, and then I had to grind the same dungeon for about 60 hours to get to level 100. So 60 hours of just mindless bullshit. And then back when I played on release with Uber Lilith, which is a trophy, they did one of the worst jobs for boss I've ever seen. There were only like two builds, like two specific builds, not two characters. Like one build for two characters out of like six characters in all their builds that you could even attempt the boss with. Because if you didn't have these two builds, she would insta kill you and you would do no damage to her at all. So it was just horrible. Like they did such a shit job. This DLC I already know. So they already had the level 100 trophy in the base game. And then in this DLC they're like, well, why don't we add this bullshit reach Paragon 300. And from what I've heard, it takes twice as long than getting to level 100. So Blizzard sucks. All the games that come out with suck. I would never recommend a Blizzard game to anyone. I got bamboozled into getting this, and I will never get another Blizzard game, especially on release. This Platinum sucks. The DLC sucks. Would not recommend doing it for anyone. Um, I will be doing the DLC at some point once I'm done with my challenge, but I hate this game. Paladins, really fun, like an Overwatch, like budget version. Played with some friends, pretty easy. There was one trophy. Um, I don't even know. I don't even remember which one it was, but there was one that oh, it was really difficult to get, and I don't even know if I remember which one it was. Um, there was one, and it was really challenging to get because there's not enough people playing in like this game mode. Oh, no, it was this one. Be the only player alive in a match. It was like you had to boost it, so finding a boosting match was annoying. But that was the only one for that. Again, I played that with Kaz. We had a lot of fun going through that, getting the other trophies. Outlast, this game's fantastic. The survival horror. Just you can't attack. You get a little recorder, and that's it. It was really fun to get through. Pretty easy trophies, just some collectibles to get through the game. There was one that was really hard. Um, and I'm actually, where is it? It was getting through the game on like finish the game in insane mode, just like a permadeath mode. Really hard. But overall, easy game. The DLC was fantastic. Might have even been better than the DLC. Highly recommend doing that. Like, I'm actually going to be doing Outlast 2 as my next game, so I'm going to be going back into this world pretty soon, and it's going to be even more difficult than this, but I love the game. Recommend it. Just auto pop that. Another We Were Here game. Did it with Kaz. Similar to the other ones, just fun puzzle games. Easy trophies. Operation Tango. Same thing. Did with Kaz. Just a co-op game. Just go through mini games together. Good communication. If you have a co-op partner, play with them. Same with We Were Here. Sekiro. I love this game. On my first playthrough, I thought this was going to be my favorite FromSoft game. Uh, But the replayability just isn't there for this because once you master the controls and the game, it becomes kind of easy. But really good. I love it. This Platinum Trophy is really easy. There's nothing, aren't not easy because the game's hard, but easy to follow. There's not a lot of missables. You go through like a little more than half the game before you have to look at a guide, and you don't have to. There's not much you have to follow in the guide. There's one annoying trophy at the end, like grinding up to get all like max out like skills. But I probably did like 5 or 10 hours of grinding at the end. But this game was fantastic. It's really challenging. Another game when I see people have it, I know they're a true gamer. They could play like hard games. This is the worst game I've ever played in my life. This is 100% Kaz's fault that this happened. He was bothering me to go play Dead or Alive 5 last round, but he just kept saying, "Oh, download Dead or Alive 5." So I did eventually download Dead or Alive 5 because that's what he said and started playing this. And when I was like, I don't, he was telling me that the tutorial is the hardest part. And I was like, I don't see a tutorial here, and a trophy popped. And he's like, oh, well, it's Dead or Alive 5 last round, that's why. And the difference, Dead or Alive 5 is like a 5 out of 10, like 10 to 15 hours. Dead or Alive 5 is a 10 out of 10, 150 hours. So you could see the big difference there. So he's a suckbag for getting me involved with this. And it was so hard. This is, I think, might be the hardest game I've ever had to do. And the hardest part is the whole game's hard and getting through everything, but you have to go through the survival mode on the hardest difficulty, and there's 100 waves, and you have to beat without dying. There's no save points or anything, and the enemies in this game cheat. They have input reading, and if you don't get your first move off, they could just combo you and kill you before you can move. Like they'll just juggle you in the air, and it can happen randomly on any enemy. And this is easily harder than Crash 4. Out of all my games, I don't think I'd be able to ever do get a platinum in this really again if I had to. This was horrible. Resident Evil Village, really good game, fun story. House Beneviento, one of the best areas in any Resident Evil game. Platinum was really easy, especially if you do it into like two playthroughs, where you just get like the Magnum and you just fly through the game. I don't really have any negatives to say about it. The DLC was also pretty easy. I know on release it was hard because they had oh no, it wasn't even in the DLC. It was in the base game, the like mercenaries or whatever they called it in this. But I just played with Chris and it became like a joke. It was so easy. Another really hard fighting game. This is probably viewed as one of the hardest fighting games, to be honest. And what makes it so hard is kind of the tutorial, not tutorial, but you have to master all the moves with everyone. It takes a while. You guys could honestly look up stuff on this about how difficult people find it. If I see anyone with this, I know that they're a legit fighting gamer. I really don't like fighting games. I can't imagine I'll be doing much fighting games in the future. But this one was really difficult too. Super hot. This is like Ghost Runner. It There were some hard trophies in this. I thought it was harder than a 5 out of 10. You have to go through like time trials. If you get hit once, obviously you die. So there was a lot in this game. Felt kind of repetitive by the end. There were some pretty annoying parts, but overall, it wasn't terrible. I think it's more challenging than people give it credit for, but there's nothing horrible in the trophy list. Again, another fighting game. This one was easy though compared to the other ones. Not really a whole lot. You could finish this in a couple days. There's not much to say about this. This was an easy Mortal Kombat game. Back to another Resident Evil game. I played this one with Trent, and the platinum was honestly pretty easy outside of one trophy, which was fully maxing out every gun, which was honestly an annoying grind. But you get through the game, playing with someone else, it is really easy. The early game, you feel like you never really have any ammo, but you get better stuff, and you just kind of fly through the rest. Um, there was this versus mode. You really need a boosting group, and it's like winning all these matches, and it just takes forever. Holy shit. This one sucks. The matches take a while. They're just not fun. You definitely need a boosting group for it. Oh yeah, I think this was Desperate Escape. Really, really hard even with a partner. Like very, very difficult. Like you die so fast, you have no ammo. There's a lot of enemies. So that one was hard, but in terms of the platinum was pretty standard. especially compared to other Resident Evil games. Like you only have to do like 2 playthroughs, and I'm pretty sure on the second playthrough had an unlimited RPG, so really just flew through the game. Realm Royale, it's kind of a bootleg Fortnite game, which honestly was really fun. I really enjoyed it, but there was one of the worst trophies in a game ever. And let me show you where that is. Um, where is it? Okay, it's this one. Win a match as a team of four without losing a single player. And what was bad about this is that there's no game mode with 4 people anymore, which is fucked that they still included it in it. And what we had to do was we had to find a Discord, and in this Discord, one of the developers is in it, and you have to ask him to help you, and he will set up a custom game and start it for you so you can get this trophy. So if you don't do that, it's almost like a borderline like unobtainable trophy, and it's horrible. But the game itself is fun. I don't even know where the Discord is anymore with that guy. But honestly, it's not even worth the hassle. So just don't even start this game. Helldivers 2, fantastic game. If you have a co-op, play it with Kaz. We had so much fun with this. It really was like a blast going for the platinum in this. If you guys haven't played it by now, definitely play it. It's so much fun. None of the trophies are that difficult. I think some of them were like semi-hard. Yeah, like this extreme difficulty with no one dying. But they're like a fun challenge. Like going for this and being like, okay, we're gonna try and go for this. It's not bad. The full hard mission without anyone firing their primary. Like you got to get a full squad and go for it. Also, but these are like fun difficulties, like in under 6 minutes, finding the right map, getting used to it. So I love this game. It was a really fun platinum. Um, I played it kind of on release, and there was some like buggy stuff that I had a problem with, like the crossplay. I don't even know if the crossplay is fully functional yet. I tried and played a few months ago with one of my friends on PC. We still couldn't get into a game together. So some of that stuff felt bad at points, but the game's really great. I love the platinum. I would recommend it to a lot of people. This is another pretty. I think this game took me 5 to 10 minutes, or not minutes. I wish 5 to 10 minutes. This was like 5 to 10 hours. Um, but this game's great. It's like another collectathon. Go to an area, get collectibles. The platinum's pretty easy, just like 100% the game. The story's really nice. It's a nice, relaxing game. If you kind of want to take a break from maybe a harder game or a long game, this is really good. It's a good length, no difficulty, some puzzles to do. It's fun. Resident Evil 3. This is probably the easiest Resident Evil game to platinum. There was honestly such little here. You get through the game and then you just get like all these like great weapons and fly through the rest of the game. And the rest of the playthroughs with it. It's so short. I remember I did this in a few days. So platinum's easy. The game itself is pretty good. I enjoyed it. I had a fun time going through it. Didn't feel so taxing going through the playthroughs like a lot of other games. So I'd recommend this a lot, I think. Especially if you're into the Resident Evil games. I know a lot of people don't like this compared to the original because they cut some content, but I never played the original, so it felt good to me. Fortnite, we're gonna. Yeah, Fortnite is an active game. Like after I finish recording this video, I'm actually gonna go grind some more on it. This is part of my alphabet challenge. This is going to be my F game. This game sucks. This platinum is horrific. Um, you have to do 1,500 missions in this game to get the platinum. And once you go through the campaign, you're going to be at like maybe 300. So you're for like 1,200 missions of grinding out the same thing. And if you're doing it, if you don't have like a full lobby, each mission takes about 10 minutes. So I'll let you do the math. It sucks. It is grinding the same mission over and over and over and over again. Um, I do this different method with a group where we could get it done in about 5 minutes a mission, which obviously is a huge cuts the time in half, but it really is bad. It is horrible. I would not recommend anyone doing this. We have another Amnesia game. This one I didn't love. The story ended up actually being pretty good by the end, but it's not scary at all. It's like a walking simulator. There's also this bullshit trophy. Um, it is a speedrun trophy. And I know what some of you are saying, like, oh, well, speedrun trophies are all pretty much the same, like everywhere, right? No, no, not this one. For this one, you have to. It might be possible not doing this if you're like super good at the game, but I'm not sure to be honest. Actually, they don't even tell you the time. Oh my God, I'm not reading through all these. They don't even tell you the time on the trophy. But in order to get this speedrun trophy, you have to like basically glitch the game out and you have to clip out of the map and go through like invisible walls and floors and like fly and do all this shit to even have a chance at doing the speed run. And it's awful. It makes the game almost not worth playing because it's really difficult. You can't just like jump in a spot and get out of the map. Like it's hard to learn how to clip out of it. And like I did this with Kaz side by side. We barely got through it. Um, I loved Amnesia: The Dark Descent. I would not really recommend this one. The story's good. I actually really enjoyed it by the end of it, but the gameplay is just not there compared to the first one. Uh, Overwatch 2, this platinum sucks. Really, you just need like a boosting group. Actually, I think they might have came out with a mode that's back to 6v6, so maybe you could actually do it. But the 5v5, the fact that they took the trophies from Overwatch 1 and didn't change them, so you still need like four character kills with alts sucks. There's so many trophies in this that just suck. You really need a boosting group to get this. Um, that's really all I have to say about that garbage. Dark Souls 3 is by far the worst Dark Souls to Platinum. Um, there's so many covenants and you need to grind so many covenant items. I think for one single covenant, killed the same two enemies for 10 to 15 hours. That was for one covenant. And there's multiple that you have to do that for. It's just a grind snooze fest. The game itself is like pretty good. If it feels good, honestly, compared to Dark Souls 1 and 2. Um, the bosses are pretty good. The areas, a lot of it's similar to Dark Souls 1. There's some new areas, obviously, but what really made this bad was the Covenant grinding, and it became just like so annoying and tedious, even compared to the other ones. And that's like what the main trophies are, is getting these covenants maxed out to get certain items. And that's really where the difficulty and annoyance comes from. Borderlands 3 is the worst Borderlands game to Platinum. It's not funny compared to the other ones. The story is pretty lackluster. The guns aren't good, and the map sucks. Like to find the collectibles, it's so hard to navigate. If you guys played like the Star Wars, like Fallen Order or whatever, the one with that really bad map, this is worse. It's like multi-layer. They don't show you how to get from one layer to the other. It sucks. I don't like it. Here we go with more Dead by Daylight. I told you guys I was going to talk about one of the really shitty trophies. Uh, no, it wasn't that one. Here. So anyone who's played Dead by Daylight, these matches take a while. They've really made it killer sided at this point compared to early on in the game. If you're playing like solo queue survivor, um, I think the survival rate is under 40% for solo queue. Last time I looked at any statistics. So there's this trophy. So the match is taken from 10 to 15 minutes, and this trophy: open the exit gate and escape from a map 20 times. There's a lot of maps. So for you to get this map is like it's not likely, and you have to go and win the match, which, as I said, less than 40% chance that you'll even survive. So you have to win the match, still be alive, be the one to open the exit gate and escape. And you have to do that 20 times. And I had to do this for the PS4 version and PS5 version. But like I said before, they just keep adding DLCs. It's like the same thing over and over again. It's become a hindrance on my life. to be honest. I would not recommend. If you're into 100% of games, don't start this game. Minecraft Dungeons. Platinum was easy, 100% sucked. There's a lot of DLC and a lot of it's kind of grindy, annoying stuff. But game itself, I played this with another buddy. If you're playing co-op, it could actually be kind of fun, to be honest. But do not go for the DLCs. It takes a while. It's grindy, not very fun either. No, it's not a fun grind. It's like one of those like, oh god, we have to go back into this. But there's nothing particularly challenging. It's just a lot of grindy stuff. You'll see the PS4 version of Fortnite. With how long this game takes, as I'm sure a lot of you guys know, the PSN guide has it at 999 hours. I'm going to be auto popping the other one, the PS4 version, because I deserve it. Valorant, I hate this game. It might be fun on PC. I can't stand it on console. The 100% is dog shit. It is. Where is it? They're like 1,000 headshots takes forever. All this damage takes forever. Using abilities 4,000 times. It got to the point where I was going into a like a quick play game, not like a normal one. It was just like a quick like team deathmatch one, and I would just sit in the back and just spam my abilities. And it just took me like 20 hours of just doing that. Getting an ace was really hard. Killing all five people in one game is really difficult. This one is just pure luck. I hated this. I didn't like the game to begin with. I didn't think it was fun, and the trophies suck. And there's not even a platinum for it. Um, yeah, it was not a good experience. I did not. I can't really think of anything positive to say about going through this. Astra's Playroom, I got the platinum a long time ago. But then they added DLCs, which honestly were bullshit. Um, this DLC that they added leading up to Astro's uh what Astro Bot or whatever, the full length game, they added these DLCs, but they released each, so you had to get like a special bot in one area. They released these one a month for 4 months or 2 months. I don't know. It was something. It was supposed to be like every month. It was like one here, and then yeah, it was almost 4 full months. So like they could go get bent. That was so dumb that they released that, but that's why this is all the way up here. And now we're getting into the start of my alphabet challenge. And I'm gonna not spend as much time with these because I'm gonna make a video at the end of the challenge going over all of these. But I want to quickly go through them. Zombie Army 4, play with a friend. I like the trilogy. It was really fun. There's a lot of DLC, and the DLC honestly sucked. It just felt so repetitive. It was the same enemies. So the DLC was not fun. We just ended up we played through the game on hard, and then the DLC started on hard, but it was just so boring. We want to get through it faster, so put on easy. Um, but it's a fun game playing in a co-op. East 8, this is my first time playing any East games, and this one's fantastic. Like the combat's really fun. The story is immaculate. The combat's fun. I really enjoyed this. The platinum's also pretty easy. You unfortunately do have to kind of follow a guide because they have these quests that pop up like in between story stuff, and if you miss it, it's just gone. So there are missables, but it's not like horrible missables. But I really enjoyed this. I This is probably my favorite game I've played for the challenge. XCOM 2. So I'm sure all of you guys know this game is hard as all shit. This game took me like 110 hours, and it is so unforgiving. I've never played a strategy game before, and this is like one of the more challenging strategy games. And you have to play. So, just so you guys know, the difficulty ratings go easy, which is the first one, and the second easiest difficulty is hard. And then it goes like Commander and Legend, and you have to play everything on at least Commander or Legend for all the trophies. And it was so hard. The only thing that got me through it was that you could save scum it. There's an in-game save scumming thing where you could like save before your move and wait till you get like a favorable outcome. But this game's so hard. I have a full-length video for all of these games we're going to be going over. So if you guys want to see like in-depth stuff on all these. You could click on that, but this game is brutal. The thing is, I really enjoyed the game. Like I could play for like 8 straight hours and still be happy going through it, but it was really difficult, and I didn't think I was going to be able to get through it, and I'm really happy I was able to. Um, Wolfenstein 2, yeah, I hate this game. Um, I don't hear enough people talk about how shitty this game is. There's over 200 collectibles in a game you could finish in 4 hours. It is so oversaturated with collectibles. Mein Leben sucks. It doesn't suck because it's like super hard, like people say. There's a lot of bullshit. Like so much parkour and like a janky first-person shooter game that if you miss, you just insta die and you have to restart the whole thing all over again. There's unskippable cutscenes. A lot of the areas on Mein Leben aren't even hard, but when you die and it's like, oh, I have to redo 3 hours of progress and all of it's like easy, but I still have to take my time so I don't die from like getting one shot. There's glitchy stuff where you can just fall through the map and die. Um, this game sucks. Even the DLC, each one of these has its own Mein Leben run for each of the DLC. I hated this. It was like one of the worst gaming experiences I've had. Um, Not as hard as people say, but you need a lot of patience to get through it. Visage, again, we talked about it, but I did the PS4 version because I needed a V game. I love this game. Undertale, one of the easiest platinums ever. I did a genocide route, and because I wanted to fight Sans, who's like one of the hardest secret bosses, like people say. And it seems like he's borderline impossible on console, which I learned the hard way. But you don't need to fight him for the platinum. It's so you get the platinum about 75% through the game, so it's so easy. It's not bad at all to get through, guys. It's a fun game. Music's nice. Story's kind of cool. Dialogue's fun, but really easy. Evil Within was my T game, and this was a lot easier than people said. To be honest, it is like a harder survival horror game. Like definitely harder than Resident Evil. You take a lot of damage. Obviously, the standout trophy is Akumo, and I found a guide that it really trivialized a lot of the stuff, like knowing exactly how many bullets to kill certain enemies, what enemies you could just stun run past. It's ended up being pretty easy, if I'm being honest. Um, I didn't have a whole lot of issue with it, but I enjoyed it. Again, this is a trophy a lot of people associate with being really hard, and if you could get this on your trophy list, it'll skyrocket the credibility of your trophies. Um, Obviously, Dead by Daylight's not part of the Alphabet Challenge, but they could go kick rocks and keep adding DLC. I purposely left the one trophy unlocked, just in case for whatever reason they stop adding DLC. I could, when I'm done with the challenge, I could get the trophy and get it outside of the order of this. Sifu is my FS game. This I hate this game. The story sucks. It is so bare bones. I hated the combat in this so much. I thought it was gonna be like Sekiro or Arkham Knight, where you're like parrying. No. The platinum itself, I got in like 10 hours. The platinum's easy. What's hard is this Arena 2, and I honestly didn't even know if I was gonna be able to finish this. I thought this was harder than Wolfenstein. I'm gonna come out with a whole video and also a DLC guide, just in case anyone else is struggling with it. But this was so difficult, and especially on these dragon arenas where they start throwing master difficulty in on like the bosses and stuff. It felt so unfair. It felt like one of the most unfair difficulties I've seen in a while, especially against the bosses where they're just throwing out moves you can't even react to. Phasmophobia is not part of the Alphabet Challenge. It's just a game I've been playing with some friends. I can get the platinum pretty much whenever I want. I just have to wait till the challenge is done because it's not part of it. Mostly because I'm scared there's going to be DLC added, and I can't have games that are going to have DLC added. Um, because then obviously it won't be at 100%, and if I do, it'll mess up the order. There is one really hard trophy in this, and it is to do a gold apocalypse challenge. A lot of the other stuff is just, you get the ghost rate, and that's pretty much what it is. But um, where I think it's towards the bottom. Yeah, the Gold Apocalypse is super hard. You have all these modifiers on where you can't run, you move slow, the ghost insta hunts, the ghost is faster, all this stuff, and you have to survive, do all the optional objectives, get a picture of the ghost, get the ghost right. It's rough. I'm not gonna lie. This is a really hard trophy compared to all the other ones, and I think if that would be a roadblock to get the platinum, for sure. But it's a fun game. If you have a co-op partner or a team, this game is loads of fun to go and just mess around playing. Resident Evil 2 is my R game. This one wasn't bad. It was annoying. I had to basically look at guides the whole time. There's like four different campaigns. Like I did the speedrun trophy on a campaign I never played before, so I was just like looking at a guide for it. But overall, it's just like collectibles. Nothing really like some miscellaneous stuff. There's nothing really that stands out, if I'm being honest. Just some like annoying collectibles. The real hard trophy is this no way out scenario. I think it's more bullshit than it is hard. That's the one where you're in the little gas station, you have to kill 100 zombies. Probably took me like 5 hours, maybe like 10-ish attempts. But just like the zombies, their tracking is so stupid. Like sometimes they'll just keep walking in a direction right past you instead of following all the other zombies towards you, and it just screws you when you're trying to run away. So that was annoying. I didn't really enjoy it. I thought it was some bullshit, but overall it wasn't awful. But another Resident Evil game done. Quake 2 was my Q game. This is like those boomer shooters, just like Doom. Honestly, it was like pretty easy. I got through. It's like such a easy trophy list. You really just finish each area. There's no collectibles. There's no miscellaneous trophies. And I got through this like pretty fast, if I'm being honest. I think I did it in 2 days and like two streams. And what's real easy if you want to make this faster, there's mission select from the beginning. So you could go to a mission and or you could go to a level and there's like 4 or 5 missions per level. And you could just skip to the last mission and do the final one and get the trophy and just keep doing that. So it's like really easy. And then here's the most recent one I got, which was Psychonauts for my P game. This was what I thought was going to be another like PS2 collectathon game. I did not really enjoy this game, if I'm being honest. The story's cool. It's like such a unique like atmosphere. The collectibles are dog shit. Unlike a lot of the other PS2 collectathon games where you could have a page and flip through each area to see which collectibles you have, this one doesn't have that. You can only see the collectibles in the like, specific area you're in, which sucks. Um, it's also really buggy. I went through the longest level in the game, got every collectible except two, and I didn't save during this because I was just kind of on a roll. Um, I ended up getting stuck on a ladder and I couldn't get out, and the game didn't autosave at all during the 2 hours, so I had to redo the entire thing. And then I made a save right before the final part where you there's like the no return part. Went through the whole last level, got some more collectibles, another 2 hours, found out I missed one single collectible in an area because I didn't know that I missed it. I had to go back to the save, get that, then redo the whole thing. So just a lot of wasted time, which was really annoying. It feels janky, which is some annoying parts when you couldn't get up a ladder and you just kept sliding down. The story's cool. It's a unique atmosphere, but the platinum is not fun. Also, oh my god, the collectibles in this, they have these things called figments, and there's like 100 plus per level, and they phase in and out of the screen. So sometimes they're just invisible. Sometimes they're like floating around the screen. It sucks. It's like one of the most annoying things to get. Like they're not obvious where they are. Sometimes you could be like looking directly at one and not even see it. So there's just a lot of kind of bullshit scattered throughout in this game. I wouldn't really recommend it. It was annoying to get through. I'd recommend playing it. It's like a cool story, one of those PS2 games, but it's really not worth platinuming, I don't think. And that is where we are. The next game I'm going to be playing is Outlast 2, which is going to be fun. Probably not, but that's going to be my old game. Appreciate you guys tuning in to see this. I'm going to leave the link for Twitch, which I stream all these games over at. Have a Discord I'll leave a link for. You could hop in, have a different roles for completing certain games, have a channel or sub channel for people ask for help for trophies I'll go and help you guys out at. And just remember to like, comment, subscribe so you get notifications for whenever these new videos drop for the Alphabet Platinum Challenge. I'm going to be releasing videos for all of them, so stay tuned for that. And up to here, 154 platinums, going to be skyrocketing that by the end of this challenge. So I'll catch you guys later in those other videos. I'll see you.